And you guys, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about because it's definitely something that, um, there's, as we release Project Broker, you know, we Project Broker is kind of designed to help kind of figure out how to work with investors, how to service them correctly, and how to really capture a lot of business because that's what we've done for years. Um, but as the reason that this is a group call is because it's so important for investors to get set up with the right broker in the market. And it will substantially help you get into your next deal when you find the right broker. And not all brokers are the same. Some are really good at luxury, some are really good at retail, some are great at first time home buyers, some are great at apartments, some are good at commercial, some are good at selling discounted value add. And so, not just because someone's a licensed broker doesn't mean that they're the same qualification. Like when I'm looking for commercial space and commercial type of product or looking, that is not my wheelhouse. I know how to look at it, but I use a specialty broker to find this stuff for me because that is what he does and he does it really, really well. And so we're going to be digging into that tonight and then kind of opening it up for questions about, are you using a broker right now? What are you not happy with? How can we get them on the right path to service you, right? Or how to, you know, find that broker on your team, but also not jeopardize your deal flow. Because like I know there's a lot of people on the call, they're like, hey, I got this broker, but I give list backs to half the brokers sending me deals. Um, and that's okay. I do the same thing. It's about how do you position that to still have that long-term partner, but also make sure you're not losing deals. So we're gonna pull this up tonight. We are going over broker services for investors, not in general. Different things. I always say, you guys, as a broker, I'm not really a broker. I sell math. I don't sell houses. And, because the math is what matters on our deals. And I don't really care what the house looks like. I don't care what it feels like. It's does it make sense or not? All right. So we're gonna hold this up now. All right. So tonight, you guys, we're talking about, that team member, the broker, and I will say I do talk to a lot of people in our group, and this is definitely a step that people bypass a lot and they just go, I'm talking to wholesalers, I'm talking to brokers, whoever can bring me the deals. And then they get the deals and they go, is this a good buy? And they don't know because the broker that's sending it to them is just really passing on the opportunity, but they're not, telling them what maybe the actual value is, or they're not underwriting it correctly. And so again, the purpose of having this main broker is to give you an anchor for underwriting and give you connections and help you free up time. So brokers are one of the single most important members that you can have on your team, right? As flippers or investors, we have to be able to find property, source it. Brokers are going to be able to help you with that. But you also need to underwrite the deal correctly. And as investors, we can get out there in a market like right now. I'm in Arizona. I keep talking about this because it's a new market for me. And I'm starting to look for deal flow. But the first thing I have to do is start finding the brokers that can educate me on the market that I'm in. And the first point of contacts that I'm looking for right now in Arizona is a really good 1 to 2 brokers that are investment minded. They might not have all the deal flow, but they know how to comp things correctly. They know what the market conditions are, and they're looking at the data. The second is building that construction team. Then I'm going to look for deals because I don't need to look at deals. I need to find the team and the people that can help me underwrite those. I don't know Arizona's market like I know Seattle's market. And so I need that person that can really teach me how to do that. Sorry, guys. I need to fix my blind real quick because I am getting blown out right now in my corner of my eye. There we go. Rare Seattle sunshine's coming through. Um, so the brokers are one of the most important people on your team because the first thing they'll do is help you maximize the time. As I'm getting into this new market, in Arizona, there's all different types of pockets. There's There is properties in Arcadia. There's Paradise Valley. There's North Scottsdale. There's Glendale. There's all these other submarkets that, as an investor, I'm trying to get a read on what's going on in that market. How many homes are getting sold? Is there opportunities? Is it a healthy place and healthy price point to be flipping in? Or am I going to be buying a property and selling it with a bunch of other ones and it's really hard to sell? And right now, as I'm looking for brokers that can actually give me that reporting, I'm having to do that myself, which takes up hours of my time. I'm going through active inventory, I'm going through pendings, I'm looking at price points, and but at the same time, I'm meeting with brokers and interviewing them because I want to see how their brains think and whether they can give me the right information. When I go talk to a broker and I go, hey, look, I'm looking to get in some deals down here, we're looking for fix and flip. I need some education on the market. And, when a broker goes, well, this is a great neighborhood, that doesn't mean it's a great neighborhood for flipping. And that's kind of like my red flag. I want to hear from the broker that goes, hey, this are the areas I would flip in because of A, B, and C. There's low inventory. Things are selling over list. The market's a little flat right now, but there's high demand in these areas. That's the broker I want to talk to, not talking to me about the warm and fuzzies. And by doing and finding that person, I can maximize my time because it can help me narrow in on those cities and areas immediately. The other reason brokers are so important is because they help you minimize risk. Brokers are going to be able to pull the CMAs for you on properties, look at the values on them. They can look on the days on market. They can call and talk to other brokers and get information out of how many showings are going on the property, how many offers did they receive, what was the activity on that. And the better you have, the more experienced your broker is in investing, the more you're going to minimize that risk. Because if the broker can analyze and comp a property correctly, the more solid our underwriting is, the less exposure we are to risk. The brokers that don't know how to do that, they're going to more ballpark numbers. We don't want to speculate and buy on deals that we don't have actual facts on, right? As flippers, we want to buy on facts. We can buy it for this, renovate it for this, and it will sell for this with this amount of work. This can't be opinions. It's got to be based on data. The other reason there's such an important part of the team is the more time you have and that the more experienced your broker is in what you're trying to do, they're going to free up the time by not having to dig into the market, by pulling the right CMAs for you, by doing the underwriting for you. It frees up your time as an investor to go find more deals, go network with wholesalers, go network with other investors, go start maybe doing direct mail yourself, because if your underwriting is getting done on the back end for you, it frees up a lot of time. I mean, as a new investor, like for me in Arizona, as I'm learning the market, it takes me 3 to 4 times long. Actually, it probably takes me 10 times longer than it does to underwrite a deal in Seattle because I have to go through so many different data points and look at them. If I freed up that time and I could just focus on finding different types of wholesalers or more resources, I can do more types of projects and protect myself. So they're going to free up that time for you. The more time you have, you guys, and you hear me talk about this all the time, it's not just about the deals, it's about finding the resources, having more general contractors, having more trades, having more places that you can source materials for on a good pricing. The more money you can save by building your resources, the more profit as an investor. And so the broker, again, can free up that time on the underwriting and looking for deal flow for you so you can focus on the people that can actually help you execute the plan and get you the profit. The more time you have, the more impact you're going to be able to have on your bottom line. As the brokers on my team do certain activities that we'll talk about, it frees up my time that allows me to focus on the operational side of my business, working with my accountants, working on my budgeting, going out and making sure I can be on site more often to make sure that the project's moving forward quickly. And so the brokers, by the amount of time they can free up, they're going to minimize your risk and then free up the time to where you can find those resources for yourself. When you're using brokers, don't focus on the discount. And I'm not saying that because I'm a broker, guys. Any broker that I work with, I pay a full boat to because I want them to focus on what they need to do, finding me a good deal, selling my property, and helping my team throughout the process. I don't focus on the discounts because I focus on the time, because if I free up time, I can be way more profitable. For me, we are working with investor clients as a broker, we underwrite, like if any client ever sends me a property, even if it's from a wholesaler and goes, hey, can you look at the numbers on this thing? Can you run comps on it? We're going to run the comps for them because they're a long-term client of ours. We do a lot of business, and there's a chance that we might be doing the listing for them on that project, or they give us other projects that maybe don't have a list back, and they always come to us and do the listing because we do so much free underwriting for them. So as brokers, you guys, there's nothing wrong with running underwriting on a deal that you're not selling because it's creating you other business down the road. I would say 15% of our listings are from investors that bought a deal that they did not have, but they still hire us anyways because they're people that we have long-term relationships for, and we will always comp a property out for them no matter what. Because as a broker, it's my job to protect my client, even if I'm not selling them the property. And so as an investor, if you have that anchor person, you can always fire that deal out to and get the feedback on. Hey, what do you think this is worth? I can buy it for this. What do you think I need to add to the property as far as 3 beds, bedroom, bathroom count, and upgrades? By doing this, it allows you to focus on making the contacts with wholesalers and brokers and sellers rather than being in the weeds and underwriting your deals all day. If I'm trying to go out and get more deals, I want to be able to get the opportunity, send it off to my broker team so they can start underwriting it for me as I'm out there still talking to more people about getting deal flow in. Or if my construction costs are too high and I can't make a deal pencil because my costs are too high or higher than everyone else's, as I'm sending off opportunities, I can be meeting more and more people that will really affect that bottom line. Offer writing. Some of this game, guys, is just shotgunning and firing out. Contacts equal contracts. At our office, our brokers are minimum trying to write up 5 offers a week. We have 6 different acquisition brokers. That's 30 offers a week that we are firing out. As you get into a new market, and I get in Arizona, I start meeting with people, interviewing them, I might not see a lot of opportunity out there at list price if I'm looking on market, but I could see some deals that I think would take under market, but I don't know which one to spend the time on. I'll know what time to spend the time on these deals if we're getting out a good price on them. And so you guys, by having that broker on the team, they can also fire out offers for you and write 5 to 10 offers a week for you, just sending out offers that work for your buy box. You don't know if the seller's going to take it or not. And then it gets the needle moving forward. All of a sudden the seller's considering it. Then you stop what you're doing. You go out and look at the property. You start looking at the budgets. You start ironing out your numbers. But there's no point in me running out and looking at a property if I need to buy it 20% under list, and I don't know if the sellers want to play ball or not. And so again, they're going to be able to get mass offers out for you by having that person on your team. The listing brokers that we have at our office and what we expect, or any broker that I hire, they help with the design on the houses. And not every broker has that skill set, but many brokers, you guys, know what sells and doesn't sells. They know what the trends are because they're selling in an active market. They know what buyers want. They know what kind of cabinets they like, what kind of countertops they like, what kind of general tones of the property that are doing well. And your broker should be able to help you with that design and lay it out for you by either grabbing the information on market from things that had sold or giving you their 2 cents because they're going to be listing and selling that property. Brokers in the investment space can also help you with your financing and getting set up with better debt or more, you know, just more avenues for debt, more different options. as I'm going out and meeting brokers in Arizona, that's the first thing I go, which hard money lenders do you like working with? Now, I've met with maybe 15 brokers. I would say there's maybe two that are really good prospects, and there was maybe four that were kind of in the space more. Um, Out of those four brokers, you guys, they got me referred to 7 different hard money lenders down in Arizona that I can have been talking to now. I'm getting their rates, I'm getting their terms, I'm getting how they fund their deals and close, like what's their closing time frames, what are their contingencies I need to do, because these are all things that I need to know when writing an offer. The brokers that know the lenders are going to be the ones that can get you the easiest financing, and easiest financing is the way we close the most amount of deals. So again, I need this broker that has the investment background. They're already like, as we've gone through this list so far, it's like they can help you with underwriting deals, freeing up your time. They can send out numerous offers. Again, contacts equal contracts. The more offers you write, the more likely you are to get a deal. They can help with the design. They give me impact that frees up time. So I'm not sitting there looking at house for hours at a time going, should I paint it this color? Is this the right cabinets? It solves that question. In addition to, it helps me save on design costs. They can assist me with money. How can I finance that deal in that local market for the least amount of money out of pocket for the lowest amount of rate? They're going to save you money. So again, you guys, as you're working with these brokers, I never try to get a discount on my commissions. I'm trying to get them to maximize their commissions. I don't think of paying a 3% commission is to sell the house. The 3% commission is to sell the house, but also help me with my business. When you guys have the right brokers and you find that good prospect, it's about training them the way that you need to have the deal sent to you so you can be efficient. When I'm talking to brokers, or when we train our broker staff in our office, we know that investors they don't want, the last thing we want is to get a listing from a broker and goes, hey, this looks like a good deal. What do you think? That does no purpose for you as an investor. If you bring that broker on your team, all they're doing is passing a message along. You might as well get on a drip from Zillow, because that's what they're doing. There's no point in paying for that. And so my requirement for any broker to send me a deal, and this is in Seattle and in Washington, they need to, or Seattle and in Arizona and California, they need to send me the subject property. What listing are they talking about here? I want to be able to look at that property. But then they also need to send me 3 comps for the property. I'm not going to look at this property unless they give me some sort of data showing me that there's potential in this deal. They also need to put in a bullet point of opinion of their scope of work that needs to be done to this property. If the broker can give me their opinion and say, hey, look, right now we have a 3-bed, 1-bath house. It needs a lot of work. You got to do full cosmetic update. And the 3 comps that I'm providing you with all have 2 baths. So we need to figure out how to add another bath. And we need to make sure we have a primary in suite. And if we do those things, we can get to these values. Then as an investor, I go, okay, this is what I need to do to get it to the property. I might look at the purchase price, what it could sell for, and be like, there's no way we're going to be able to do that inside the margin. Let's pass on that. Or I need to go out there and look at it and go, okay, this is what I need to do. But now I have a clear vision of what needs to be done, the scope of work. So then I can meet with my contractors and start estimating out to get the highest price. So again, you guys, as you start working with these brokers, don't just work with anybody. They need to earn your business. That's what we are always trying to do as brokers, earn our clients' business in all ways, shapes, or form, not to sell them houses. You as investors are great clients for them. You purchase a property, hopefully from them, and then you're selling it with them in a short amount of time period. They are getting paid twice on your deal in a 6-month period, or maybe a 9-month period, or 12-month period. And you're also a client that doesn't buy a property and then live in it for 4 years and then maybe sell it with that person later. You guys are an engine to get brokers paid. And brokers, your investors, are engines to get you paid. The more value that you can produce that client, the more successful they're going to be, the more listings you're going to get, the more deal flow you're going to get. And for investors, never be shy about telling brokers what you need as a client. You're hiring them to work on your behalf. Every client has a need. Your needs need to be to solve your time and to give you information that will help your underwriting be solid. Once the broker gives me their SOW, their scope of work that needs to happen, and again, it doesn't need to be like a detailed breakdown on construction, just what do we need to do to the house to add to get to that value? They need to give me their suggested resale price. And you guys, I can see that you see I put this in capitals. For me as an investor, I want to know that this broker can interpret this and go, hey, look, if we do these things, it will sell for this. When a broker doesn't have an opinion on price, that tells me that they are just waiting for my answer and they're going to just follow suit and say, yes, that makes sense. They have to give their opinion if they're finding you that property. That's what helps our underwriting stay safe. And for brokers, I can tell you from experienced investors and builders, they get very impatient. They want to make sure that they're suggested. They don't want to go, hey, what do you want to sell it for? They go, what will sell this house today? And so as brokers, we always want to be very direct with our clients. Hey, we know, we think we can sell it for this based on these comps, these data points, this days on market, your average time should take this long. But you always need to have a direct opinion, especially for the brokers on the call. If you are sugarcoating it, you're being loose, you're not giving them an actual value, the client will get impatient with you and you're going to lose your investor client. I see it happen to brokers that sell dirt to builders all the time. They're not used to working with builders. They're going, well, we think it's a nice house. It's built so well. It's so pretty. It will sell. They don't want to hear that. They want to go, this is what it will sell for. This is the time. Here's the data behind it. And how you come up with that information is they need to give you the average days on market, this the sales price to list ratio, inventory levels, and absorption rate. These are the market updates that we want to go in with the back end. And so, as you communicate with these clients and as investors are working with different types of brokers, you guys got to get them to earn their business. There is nothing wrong with that. Right now, you guys, there is a record amount of low sales going on. Brokers need to eat. You're a client that will buy numerous times throughout the year. You're a great way for them to eat and get paid. But they need to help you with your time. And if they're not going to help you with their time, then don't pay them much. Pay them the 1%. But there's a reason why you want to pay that full broker is because they're going to get you the right lenders. They're going to get you that deal flow and they're going to save you that time so you can focus on your core business, which is getting better debt and getting better resources. Utilize your brokers. Use them to find deal flow, you guys. Have them do the outreach to other brokers in the area. What inventory do they have? Are they finding on-market deals and underwriting those and sending those over to you? Every deal that you guys look at should be underwritten by a broker on your team that you trust. That's going to help you verify that pricing. You can also have that broker run you a CMA. So when you're submitting that project into your hard money lender, that they can see the value. It's backed up by stats to help you ensure you close your deal quickly. Your broker on your team should always do market reporting for you when you need it. As we go through different market cycles, the market goes hot, it goes cold, it goes flat. As investors, we want to know what the current condition is, what the active inventory, what's the days on markets, so we can prepare ourselves when we're looking at deals correctly. If the average market timing is 60 days on market, I need to account for that in my pro forma when I'm looking at my debt cost. If the average sale to price ratio is 5% under list, then as I'm looking at my comps and looking at my pro forma, I can tell it's a buyer's market. They're going to negotiate down, and I might want to put a little bit lower value on the property. Active inventory is something I always want to know. As inventory increases, I want to be more cautious as an investor. These are reports that they can pull for you monthly and send over so you can interpret them and then update your buy box in your threshold for risk. Brokers can help you with the design and input and what's sellable. What's selling, what's the hot selling trend right now? Is it adding a pool in your backyard? Because, right now, actually in Washington randomly, if we put a pool in, we might be able to sell for a couple $100,000 more. Is it buyers? There's always these changes, right? You guys, like, farmhouses are going out of style right now. They've been mass produced. No one wants to look at them that much anymore. They just want something different. So these are the input. So if a client calls me and say, "Hey, I got this house, I think about going farmhouse," I'm like, "Hey, let's try something different." People are over it. Buyers don't want it. They're going to be able to give you that design input. And then again, you guys offer writing for potential deals in the shotgun offer approach. If that broker is on your team and they're trying to earn your business, they should have, if you can't find any deal flow in your market, they should be writing 5 to 10 offers that meet your buying requirement, regardless of the list price, because you never know when someone's going to say yes. And you guys, some of the best deals I see on market are the ones that sell after 7 days on market and the seller took a 20% haircut because they just had a clean offer. What it was working for them at that specific time in their life, and the offer worked, and they just signed it. And so those brokers, again, as you're giving out these 3% list backs, they're working for you. Have them write offers out. It's good for them. They get paid if they close that deal. But the more they work and the more contacts they make, the easier your life is, so you can focus on that core business. You guys, the flipping side, the hardest part about flipping is managing your job site and resources. Those are the things that you constantly have to be always evolving, right? You hear me talk about swapping out my contractors, bringing in different contractors, keeping my pricing under control. I can do that because I have a broker team behind me that frees up that time so I can focus on building my business. The business isn't to find my own deal. The business is to be profitable flipping a house or developing a home. That comes down to how well I can run that job site and control my costs. When a broker lists a property, in this is important, again, you guys, we don't just have them throw a sign in the yard. Anybody can throw a sign in the yard. We want the information and know that they are actively selling that property. And so any broker that sells one of my properties, or any broker that works on my team that sells the client's property, they have certain responsibilities they need to do. The first thing is, I want my broker, the week of listing, to, I have my construction team out there, I have my project manager, I'm walking the site, but they also do a round of punching out the home. When we go through and we punch out the home, which we've talked about on the last couple calls, we go through, we make a photos report, we do a pre-inspection, and then we blue tape the house. The more eyeballs we have doing that, the better, because the house gets done it's perfected. That's going to give us a higher offer. We're going to have low issues with our sale. There's not going to be as many objections. But the broker at the end of the day is the one listing the property. And so our brokers go through and they check the project manager and the contractor to make sure that everything on that list is done before we list that property. And so they're helping us punch that house out for us. That saves me time. Once I do my first punch list, the broker goes out there, kind of handles it from there. They let me know when it's all done. Brokers need to line up the staging and get good pricing on it. Now, for us, we don't include staging in our commissions. That's what all the other services are for. But what we can control is the staging that our clients pay is about 30 to 40% less than other stagers in our market. We get volume pricing, and we're always pricing that out. So we're always trying to find more resources to give to our clients that's going to save them money. Pre-inspections. We highly encourage, and we set up a pre-inspector for our client to punch that house out and get a pre-inspection done. We've negotiated very low rates with pre-inspectors to where they do it about 50% less than other inspectors in the area. And so as a broker, I'm always trying to save my client money, but also make sure that they have the right product that we can sell that will maximize the value out of it. Every week that I have a property on market, or our team has a property on market, our brokers do weekly walkthroughs. And so you guys, as your property's up for sale, it looks great in that first week, but then we get some market timing. people are walking in and out of this property. There's dirt on the floor. The weeds can start growing in. There could be, like right now, if there's wind and rain and water, and it makes the yards not look good, great. But the brokers go through and they do a weekly checklist of, hey, this is what we need to do at the property. Is the heat on? Does it feel warm and inviting? The last thing I want to do is have a buyer walk through the house. It's cold. It's kind of dingy. It's a bad first impression. And so they give us a walkthrough checklist that's included in the project broker of what's the temperature on the house? Is it clean? Does the lawn need to be mowed and edged? What makes that property presentable? Because remember, guys, we have to keep that property in perfect shape up until we go to close. Once the property is also listed, the communication that we expect out of brokers and that my team is expected to do is constant communication on what's actually happening, whether it's good news or bad news. Every time we do an open house at the property, there's a detailed open house report of who came through and what their feedback was. And as a broker, I want to deliver that to my client, because if we're getting a lot of bad feedback or we're not getting offers and a lot of traffic through, I want to know what those reasons are so I can explain it to my client. Oh, sorry. The number of showings. You guys, every broker should tell you how many showings. Oh, I'm frozen, aren't I? That does not look good. Hold on. That looks terrible. There we go. Number of showings, you guys, you have to know this information. Your broker, every Monday, we have our brokers, or I require the brokers to send out a number of showings that we got on our property. Then they also send out a report on active competitors in the area, homes of similar size, similar price point, similar locations, similar updates. They get numbers of showings on every one of those listings. They call the brokers. They go, how many showings are you getting? What's the feedback you're getting? Because as an investor, I want to know, am I overpriced? Are people not looking at our property? Or is the market just slow across the board? This tells me whether to move my price or not, up or down, or stay where I'm at. That is one of the best ways to gauge price, whether you're overpriced or not just because we're not getting offers. If we're getting the right amount of showings to the house as everyone else, then we just got to wait for that right buyer. If I'm getting lower showings than everybody else, then I might be overpriced, or there might be something wrong with my house. If I'm getting more showings than the other properties in the area, that's going to tell me to stay very firm on my price. And so always get that number of showings report. What's the activity in today's market? We send out honest feedback to our clients. Do not sugarcoat it. Brokers don't sugarcoat it. Investors don't want it sugarcoated. If you do a renovation and the feedback is it feels cheap, or I don't like the floors, I don't like the tile, I don't like the layout, these are things to know to help you on a different project down the road, but also, is it an objection that we can solve through fixing it? Can we put a little bit more money in the house? Can we fix it to get it to transact? Or to also know, is the feedback just more, if someone's giving me if 50% of the people coming through are giving me bad feedback on my neighbor next door, and the other feedback don't care about it whatsoever, it's going to tell me that, okay, well, my listing might take a little bit longer to sell because 50% of the people that come through are not buying this house no matter what, because of the neighbor. And so always get that honest feedback, whether they love it or hate it. And then competitive listing feedback and pending offers, that market update. How many homes came on market that week? How many showings did they get? Did they get offers? How many offers did they get, and what are they pending at? Any competitive listing in your market that you are currently listed against, if it's active or pending, your broker needs to be on the phone with them weekly, figuring out what's their inventory. Do we need to cut price? Do we need to stay in front of it? The biggest mistake that brokers make is they just send emails out and they don't follow up. You want to pound the phones. And if a broker is listing my property, I expect them to call and get me all this information and send it to me on Mondays. And what this does is it tells me again, what to do with my price if it's not selling. A good example is, you guys, I had a property listed and it was listed for a long time and it was in Magnolia. And we're getting ready to close it right now. And we listed at the wrong time, right before the election, like in August, dead time. Market started picking up. Things were starting to sell after the election. Things were moving. And we were listed on this property for 2.2 million, but ours wasn't selling. And, I was getting concerned. I was like, wow, this is expensive house. It's sitting on market. It's expensive. And I was like, should I cut price or not? And what we did is, by having this information, getting the competitive listing feedback, I actually stayed with my price, which allowed me to probably net the most. When the broker told me, here's your active inventory in the market, there was 4 competitive listings. Out of the 4, 2 were pending, and they were pending at the right price per square foot that we were priced at. I thought we were a better house too. My broker called those brokers to figure out why those went pending over ours. Like, hey, what did your buyer love about this? And a lot of it came down to layout and bedrooms and bathroom placement in a house, that those 2 buyers would have just never bought our house because of the layout and how the bedrooms and baths are laid out. Now, by having this information of how many showings they got, we're getting the same amount of showings, that those properties sold for the same price per square foot that we're listed at. We're a better house, but they had a floor plan that was more appeasing to those 2 buyers that bought. We knew how many showings the other actives that didn't sell were getting. It told me that we were priced correctly, but we just had to wait for that right buyer that was cool with our plan, or our floor plan. The other option was to drop my list price at least 5%. Now, on 2.2 million, 5% would have had me drop the price $110,000 on this house. And based on days on market, the activity, I was looking at doing a price cut. But because I had that other information, that told me to kind of sit still and to hold on to my price. Things were selling. I just had to put the right buyer on it. The other thing, the reason I did not want to drop my price, is everything that was pending was an average pending of about 2.5% off list. The broker told me the sale to list price ratio. That meant in this price point of Magnolia, things were selling for about 2.5% under list. That means even if I cut my price, I was still going to get an offer that was lower than what list price was statistically. And so for me to negotiate, it told me that I'm probably going to have to sell below my list price, but I don't want to cut my price. I want to use my price to throw at the buyers to bring the offer in. And so by having this information, I decided not to drop the price. And then over a 2-week period, we ended up getting in contract with a buyer for 2.155 million. And so instead of cutting the price 110,000, I was able to hang on to it, keep the property, not stubbornly, based on the information and the reporting that the broker gave me. And it allowed me to negotiate and throw 50 grand at that buyer to get them up on price, because their original offer was below 2.1. And so it allowed us to negotiate it up and then get pending. And so it saved me about $50,000 to $60,000 rather than just cutting price and then most likely getting an offer under list just based on the market conditions. And so, you guys, this is why your broker is so important, and getting these reports to you are so important. It's not just going, hey, we're getting good activity, I'll let you know if a buyer comes in. You got to be militant with your team. These are what we want every week, and I need this information on Monday or Tuesday so then I can look at this as an investor and make a decision. For us, we need to make a decision because our debt's expensive and it eats up our profit. We don't want to sit on market too long, but we also don't want to overcut our price and be giving away money after we just renovated the whole thing. And so never be afraid to ask your brokers to get these services. And for brokers, if you deliver these services, this is what investors will attach to you for life. I mean, the reason why investors hire me, even when we don't sell it to them, is because they know they're going to get the right reporting. They know that they're going to be taking care of by our team. And also we're always helping them with the investment strategy is, hey, this is what's going on with pricing. Here's the direction. This is what you need to do. And the more direction you can give your client, the more successful your client's going to be and keep them as a long-term prospect. So I'm going to open this up now, because I do know there's a lot of people looking for their broker now on this call. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks. Who is struggling to get a broker in, that you have a current broker, they're not giving you these services, and how we can retrain them. So you guys, or, you're working with numerous brokers and you're running into friction, anything that has to do with this, you guys, I kind of want to jump on this call. And then again, as always, you can bring in whatever question you're working on, because I want to make sure you get our moving forward. So I'm going to open it up for questions right now. See what we got going on. All right, Sonu, what's going on?
Yeah, I have a question for you. So I'll tell you based off my experience that I had recently, not so much with Washington, but in Texas. So I was trying to do exactly what you're mentioning in the sense that I said, okay, because I had a broker previously that was not working out. So what I did was I went on Bigger Pockets because I guess the question I'm also trying to ask while I also tell you what I did is what is the best way to go about to find investor friendly brokers? I tried looking on Zillow and I just typed investor friendly brokers. I went on Bigger Pockets, and what I found was a lot of the brokers that told that on the website said that were investor friendly, when I spoke to them, were not investor friendly. So that's one of the things that, as I go into different markets and look for different opportunities, what would you outline as far as steps for finding a broker that is investor friendly?
Oh, so, and this is a great question. You guys, a lot of times too, and if you're getting a referral from a certain website, they're paying for that referral. Um, and so it's whoever really wants to spend the money. And yes, a lot of people say they're investor friendly and they're not. And so I like to look at activity. Networking with brokers in your area is probably the best way, right? Get the referral. Um, but the way that I've been doing it right now in Arizona too is, so one of those key people that I always say to get, and they're easy people to get, guys, your title rep that works in that market, that specializes in working with investors. How you find those title reps. I would say any title company that's representing a new construction listing is usually a good one. Or hard money lenders always have referrals to title reps that they work with. That title rep's going to be geared up for investors in general. So that title rep, though, as I get in a new market, I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm very interested in giving you all my business. I need help get my business going. And the first thing I need is to find a really good broker. If you know any referrals, because they'll know a lot of the investor brokers, get the referrals from them, but then have them pull a list. And what the list that I want is, in the last 12 months, who is the listing brokers that have sold the most amount of properties with an LLC as the seller? Because that's a report they can pull right off of their database, because they track these type of people. That's going to automatically tell you that these brokers are working with investors more and more. And then you can say any broker that worked with uh, an LLC that sold a single family house, if that's what you're doing, looking for fix and flip, or if you're looking for development, who is the broker that sold with an LLC that sold the most new construction? They're going to be able to pull you those list of brokers, and you're going to see their deal counts in chronological order down.
Okay, that makes sense. Now you said the title rep. Now that's if you're working with the title company already, right?
No, like the title rep, you get your title reps. There's a million different title reps out there. I can tell you, they come in my office all the time trying to get our business. And, they come in, they'll drop you off cookies and pens and say, hey, I'd love to do your escrow. We have the best escrow team. And I don't really care about the escrow team, because they're all usually pretty good or very similar. Some are a little bit better than others, but, most of them are fairly good if they work at the big companies. What I care about is the title rep that is focused on the investor space. And those are going to be ones that are working with new construction listings and flippers. because their accounts are actively looking to meet investors, not just regular brokerages. And so you don't need when you go into a new market, you want to find the title rep that is working with those builders. And so the best way to do that is to pull new construction listings. You're going to see a common theme, like in Washington. Most of the time when you see a new construction house getting listed, it's from Chicago Title, because the Chicago title rep is geared up for land. He probably does 75% of the title in the Pacific Northwest. And so if I look through 20 different brokers' new construction listings, it's going to have the escrow account and the title information in there, and go, okay, I'm going to call this company first to talk to them and say, I need to talk to your investor friendly title rep.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or hard money too. Like, as you guys, hard money are probably one of the best ones to get referrals out of. If you're talking to a lender, they lend to that state, be like, hey, which title rep do you work with? Because that title rep needs to understand how they do business. And so if they're like more normal title rep, they won't.
Okay, thank you. That was it.
Cool. James.
Hello, James. How's it going today?
Good. How are you, man? How's your contractor thing going?
Oh, I'm going okay a little bit. I've been working a lot on the realtor side, but I'm not giving up hope though. I'm not giving up hope. But hey, here's a question, because I'm a little torn at times. If you were to ask me, I'd want to be the flipper, learn the flipping business first, and then be the realtor second. But the realtor is, helping pay the rent, because I do have some clients there, word of mouth. But here's a question. One thing that I'm liking everything you said. Individually, I'm not the best at design. If I wanted to over time keep maturing my investor friendly business, or revenue stream, but I'm not the best at design, what ideas might you have? Like, because it seems like hiring a designer is probably very expensive, but maybe it's necessary. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So are you asking for the investor side and your brokers, or
Yeah, I'm
broker side, or
asking
both?
for, as a broker, as an investing friendly realtor, how I could help a client with design when I individually am not great with design.
Okay. Yeah, and that's okay. Like, and James, you don't have to know the design brokers. Like, the
Yeah.
brokers, I don't need them to design the house for me. I just want them to go, hey, in what you see selling, what's the general tones that you're seeing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, kind of what's on trend right now. And you'll
Yes.
grab that from your comps. Like, hey, just cabinets, people seem to really like white cabinets, lighter countertops, and warm color tones. We're seeing the theme throughout
Yes.
this.
Yes.
That's plenty for a broker to do for someone. Now we go above and beyond, but we're kind of more of a specialty little boutique.
Yes. Yes.
But like, when I'm in Arizona, right? Like, it's the desert. So people like different colors down there. They like different types of floors. They like different, types of cabinets. And so I'm not asking them to design it for me. I'm just like, hey, what's the tones that people are sticking with here? Like, what's selling
Definitely.
right now? Well, what's selling is black windows, white houses, metal roofs, and, a very airy house that has warm tones good throughout, like cold
Yes.
out down here. And so just more summarize what you're seeing as far as the photos go.
Yeah.
And you don't need to design the house. You're just trying to give them the tones of what's
All
on,
right.
and then that's
And
based just
I,
on the CMAs.
And I have a second question, a short question. I actually do have a cash buyer client. They have essentially around $1 million cash. They pretty much want a little bit money for, reno touch up post closing. So they've been putting in a lot of offers at 950, even though I'm telling them for the area that they're looking at, it's a two families primarily they're looking at, multifamily. And I'm even telling them, based on comps, I'm thinking these are going for 970, 990. And generally speaking, that's where they are going, but they only want to spend 950. So I'm trying to convince them to expand their search criteria, or maybe even take a house that's a little bit more beaten up, but maybe still rentable. What are your thoughts? How could I convince this person to either, because I don't think they're going to get the house at the
Mhm.
950 for the quality that they're looking at. I'm trying to expand their horizons. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so what they're looking for is just a good deal on something turnkey is what
Yes,
their
pretty
preferred
much
buy box.
rentable condition, minimal work before renting. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and there's gonna be those kind of clients for sure. And then do they have any background in renovation whatsoever?
No.
Okay. Well, what I would do, no matter what, like as a broker, I'd sit down and talk to them and go, you guys, what you're looking for here is, it's not that I'm not going to try to go find that for you. You're
Yeah.
looking for, you want to buy something for basically 10% off just to get
Yeah.
it for 10% off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and that comes down to just not having emotional attachment. And we can write every property that comes up and we can fire in an offer. And I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to negotiate the crap out of this. But
Yeah.
it's hard to do because the seller, just like if you had a nice property and you weren't in a
Yeah.
hurry, you don't want to just drop 10% off.
Exactly. A house we made an offer on last week, and I was not surprised. Got 20 offers. Yeah.
Yes. And do you know what it sold for?
I do not, but I would wager it's probably in the range of $1 million or so is where about 50K higher than what we are offering is what I had based on the comps suggested or proposed that it would go at.
Okay. So yeah, okay. Yeah. And track that listing too. And you can always I would call the broker and say, hey, how far north did this go?
Ah, yes.
Because then you can, educate the client like, hey, you guys, what you're looking for is highly, highly competitive.
Exactly.
And, when you're competitive, you gotta, when you want to buy what everyone else wants to buy,
Yes.
you got to buy it on a slimmer margin.
Exactly.
And it's not that I'm not, and then I let them know, hey, this is what I'm going to do to try to still get you this property. I'm looking at everything on market. I would
Yes.
look at all canceled and expireds too in the last
Okay, good
few
idea.
years.
Yes.
Because, sometimes they didn't sell because the rates were really high and
Yes.
they might even been priced like right around that $1 million number. And I mean,
Yes.
I for the turnkey people, I always look through the expired and canceled first
Okay.
because some of it's just market timing.
Exactly.
Then what I would do though, James, is, because they want to buy this, they're not living in it, right?
Correct. Not living in it.
And so they want to spend 950.
Yes.
Do they have a return in mind, or is it just that's what they want to pay for it? Are they trying to target a certain cash on cash return? Because that's what we want to do as brokers, and we're most effective with a client is like really starting to narrow what their goals are, not just about what they want to buy.
Yes, at this point, they do not have a cash on cash return. They're actually looking for $5,000 to $6,000 a month cash incoming. Yeah.
Okay, so they want to buy something for 950 that brings in 5 to 6,000 in income.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's okay. We can work with that. So what I would say run that though is going. So that neighborhood, it sounds like it's a class neighborhood.
Very convenient transportation, central to the area. Yes. So not
Oh,
necessarily luxury, but very convenient, very sought after.
okay, like a good B neighborhood then.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what other neighborhoods are very similar to that? Because there's always going to be a couple around there, right? That will be like
Yes.
the
Yes.
and that they don't have on. And what I like to do is educate, if they're really tight on their buy box, they can almost be
Yeah.
detrimental to their own purchase.
Yeah.
And so our job as a broker is also to open their eyes a little bit and go, hey,
Yes.
look, I know you had this plan when you came to me, and we're going to look for that plan.
Yes.
But I would go into a couple of the other B markets close to transportation, the same type of benefits long term,
Yes.
and start looking at recent sales there. And because
Yes.
there's usually going to be a variance between those neighborhoods, like 5 to 10% typically.
Yes. Yes.
And then what I would do is go, hey, look, I know we're looking here, but over in this little neighborhood over here, this one just sold for 910,000.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it still brings in $5,300 a month in rent. And
Yeah.
here's the demographics, here's the neighborhood, here's the path of progress here.
Yeah.
We're still can look here, but if we expand to these two neighborhoods that are very similar, you actually might be able to get a better return on your cash by being here with the same amount of upside.
Yes. Yes.
And
Exactly.
And so I would go through any of those supporting neighborhoods that are very, very similar demographics, location, and start pulling and going, okay, where can I see a little bit better buy on something?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yep, great, great. Yes, because that's definitely what I was trying to do is get them to expand their area. And it's not even too far, but trying to expand the area was the direction I was taking them in. Yes.
And then show them the math behind it too, right? Like,
Yes.
hey, if you spend 910 here instead of 950, you're making
Yeah.
$5,300 a month. But if you're spending 910 here, you're making $5,300 a month.
Yes.
Because a lot of times the client doesn't know.
Yes.
And so we want to give them good solid advice, not just to sell them something, but go, hey, look, you're going to actually do better here, and we're going to achieve your goal and get you into this deal.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And
Good
so,
point.
but I would don't just talk to them about it, pull those neighborhoods, pull the sales, pull the income, and then
Yes.
go show to them
Yes.
and go, and they might tell you a different reason, like, oh no, we really need to be here because my aunt's around the corner and that's just what we want. And it's like, okay, well
Yeah.
then that is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, but we want to, I would say 50% of the clients that come into our office have an idea what they want to buy. And by the time we get done talking to them and
Yeah.
we go through what their goals are and what they're trying to accomplish, they're actually buying in a completely different location
Ah, interesting. Yes. Yes.
because they all,
Exactly.
and we just have to show it to them like, hey, I know this, and that's why I always break down to the math side. Like, okay, you want to spend this much and make this much.
Yes.
What if I can do better and it's here and it's about the same?
Yes.
And, because a lot of times it's like people come in, we're in Bellevue. Like, I want a rental property in Bellevue. I'm like, okay, why? It's just Bellevue. It's nice. Like, it's
Mm.
close to my office. It's close to my house. It's just great. Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of return do you want to make? Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know if I can make a 6%. I'm like, okay, well, in Bellevue, you're going to make 4
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just where everyone wants to be. And
Yes.
that's okay. But what if you could buy in, Issaquah's a similar location, not as good, but very, very similar. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what if we can get you a 7 here when you want a 6 and you're still in the same type of demographic, same type of area, and you're going to get a better cash and return by being here, which is 15 minutes away and has the same type of school district, same type of people, same type of potential.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Sounds great. Sounds great. Yes.
Just pull the stats and the data though too.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Definitely will do. I'll make that my project, my priority. Yes. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you.
And you guys, as you're going out to from the investor side, like those are important conversations to know. Like as you're coming in, you have an idea what you want to buy. When you're talking to these brokers, get feedback from them too. Like when I was talking to a broker in Arizona recently. And the reason I keep bringing this up, guys, because I'm going through the same process that you guys are going through as you get established in some of these markets. Doesn't matter what your experience is, doesn't matter what you did. It's a new thing, new people, new relationships. And so, I would say, hey, this is kind of where I want to be. I want to be where inventory is not too heavy. And I was looking in some certain areas, and this broker's like, hey, look, if you look over here in Glendale, you're going to be in the price point that you like. Here's the sweet spot. The average days on markets are low, inventory's lower here, and that typically people can make about the same returns here. Now I'm all of a sudden looking in different neighborhoods that I wasn't looking in before because they gave me the data, right? So as brokers, you need to provide it, but as investors, don't just get their opinion, have them show you the information. Omar, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, James?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Just a
How's
quick question.
how's the
Oh, sorry.
probate business?
Oh man, I'm busy. I'm getting a lot of listings right now. Just have a couple of those ones that are just tied up in court, people fighting over properties, but it's busy.
Yeah, I got an offer on something right now that's got that going on.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I was going to ask you a question regarding on the when you're looking for a broker regarding the staging. Are they paying for is the broker paying for the actual expense of the staging, or is that something you're including in your balance sheet?
Um, e- I do not pay for anybody's staging, um, as a listing broker. We get them
Okay.
better deals on it. I don't, but we also offer some additional services like with the design work, and I feel like we're over delivering for our commission anyways.
Okay.
I will say when we're not giving that same service, like for example, a builder called me up recently. He's like, "Hey, can you look at listing this property? I don't want to list with this person." Um, it- you know, I gave him kind of two proposals when we looked at the numbers. I go, "Hey, look, we can either list this, give you a discount at 2 points because we didn't source it to you, easy to do, or I can handle the whole thing. We can do it at 3 points. And I'm going to pay for staging. I'm going to pay for these other things in there." And so I use it as kind of like an enhancer to get the business sometimes unsecured. And so, but usually, our job, because of the service we don't pay for it, but we are going to get our client a really good deal on staging. I will tell you that much.
Okay. Now, as an investor, if a broker on your team, or let's say a broker that's working with you, brings you a deal, are you requiring them to pay for staging as an investor?
No, I'm not,
Okay. Okay.
because I want the deal. I don't care about the staging. Staging is like a line item I can add into my budget. And so,
Got
like
it.
as an investor, I don't, really care. Like if I'm looking at a deal that's tight and there's a list back on it, I might say, "Hey, if we don't hit this number, can you give me a discount on my listing, or can you throw staging in?" But it's always about getting the deal and making that relationship rather than getting cost covered.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Dylan, what's up, buddy?
What's up, James? I had a question for you about like what your typical agent looks like. Are they typically a part of large firms, or do you kind of find them to be like one-off folks that seem to do better? Because I've kind of had both. I didn't know your thoughts on it.
That's a good question. I would say you guys, I don't think the firm matters. I'm more about the person than anything else. Um, I've
Like,
had listing brokers at big firms or small. I would say our typical listing broker, man, that's a hard one actually, because I would say most of the ones that are investor friendly are working for a little bit more boutique shops in general.
do they typically sell a lot? Like, is their volume high, or can they be kind of low-key agents too?
Y- Let me, and now I'm looking like, what are the last 10 list backs I did? So let me think about that. I would say they're definitely high volume guys, but they're, or at least always present in the market. They're not usually one or two off people.
May not be top in the market, but like they're not selling two houses a year.
No, they're not selling two a year. And you know what though? I have worked with this one broker, and she was awesome. She found some deals, and she probably does like 5, 6 deals a year, but she has an interesting business because she'll do the construction for you too.
Hmm.
So it's like she's actually like running the project, doing the construction and doing the listing, and she gets paid on the construction too. So she's more of like quality, smaller, keep it segmented, maximize the deal per broker. But I would say, if they're a true hustler that are really firing out offers and a discipline that way, they're going to be doing more than the average broker on volume.
Yeah. Cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and you guys, it's more about person. This one thing, I would not worry about the brand at all. Like it's straight person. Like how hard do they want to work? I don't care if they're at Keller Williams, if they're at Windermere, if they're at EXP. All about the person. And so, you know, I just focus on that for sure over anything else. John, what's up, buddy?
James, what's up, man? Love this topic. I have a question. So how do you manage the process? Let's say, and I've worked with a couple of the acquisition brokers that are on your team, and those guys are really good. They offer they do a great job providing a lot of data points that you mentioned on this call already. And the challenge I've experienced in not getting a deal done is just getting beat by another investor swooping on a deal. I think I talked about this last week, right? On getting, the rehab numbers and then being able to get it back in a timely fashion. So how do you, so when you go to bid on a property and you're getting those rehab budget built out, and I'm working with my contractor on that, where in the process do you bring in the listing broker? Is that before you make the offer to have the listing broker look at it? Or is that after you've won the deal and then you bring them in? Like, how do you, because like you brought up some really good points on like how they can add a ton of value. So I'm just curious, in that initial like phase of when you're trying to win the deal and there's a timing element of it, when do you bring them in?
Okay, so there's, and I guess it depends on the team you're working with too, like, because I have mine broken up differently, right? Where I have my acquisition team, the listing team, but they're all really one big team, so they're cohesive.
Correct.
And so it's kind of like, because of the volume we do, that's why we break it up that way. But in most markets, that person's going to be the same person, where they're sourcing the deal and then listing it back. Because at the end of the day, if you take a step back from my business, I'm the broker. And then these are my brokers that work for me to service my clients, and they're trained a very, very specific way to accommodate my business. And so that, I think what I was talking about earlier on the call was having that person that you're like, okay, no matter what, I need a broker in my market that should be investment minded broker that will look at any deal for me. Right. So like, for example, and I'm not trying to route this to my team, but like you could have like my sales manager, Vlad, for example. He kind of is on top of everybody.
Yep.
If you have that broker on your team where you're like, okay, this is my person, I can trust their information because we provide the right data, all those things, where that person is really going to come in. If they're selling you the deal, they're already kind of in that process with you. They've already done all of what we talked about. But where that broker is going to come in handy is, when you talk to, like, let's say you get 4 wholesale deals that don't have listbacks. And they're just deals that were sent to you. They're of interest to you. And you're like, man, I got to figure this out. It's not laid out the way I liked it. They doesn't have all the data points in because they're not trying to capture that other business. That's where, you want to have that conversation with someone like Vlad or the acquisition broker. And I would say more Vlad because he kind of runs, again, we have kind of 2 sets of teams that work underneath us. But, reach out to Vlad and say, hey, if I send you these deals and I'm giving you guys the list back later, will you underwrite these for me and take a look at the comps and look at and give me the scope of work that needs to happen? That's where that broker becomes valued to you, not the person selling it to you, because to sell it to you, you already want that information, right? Like to get it to highest and best use. It's when you're getting deal flow or you're looking at things that are not broken down that way and you want to keep things moving forward. And so that's where like having that, and whether it's my people or someone else, but someone in that market where you're going, hey, look, if I get other deals, as long as I list it with you, will you underwrite these and look at them? That broker should go, yeah, I'll look at 20 deals for you, and you might get none of 20, but they're still going to do that service, knowing that the fact that they're going to get that business at some point from you. And so, like, if you contacted our team like Vlad, and you're like, hey, I got this wholesale deal sent to me, I'm going to go out there and look at it. Can you run comps for me and just give me a bullet point scope of work or what you think I need to do to this house? They will do that as part of their service, even if they're not selling you the deal. That's who we want on our team, because if you have the broker you already like, they're going to be presenting it to you all the way through.
So what if it's already coming from the acquisition broker, right? And then we need to still, does it make sense to still wrap in like the listing broker to just have them like look at some of the things that you need help with, just to be like, hey, does this numbers make sense? Is this budget? Like if we want to do these type of finishes, and I think that's the part that I'm still trying to figure out is like, the paint and the color and the finishing touches, and then working with a contractor, right? Is that done pre-bid process, or is that done after you secured it, and then you go to that listing broker and say, okay, here's what we have. Can we make this work, right? Or is there enough time to get the feedback from the listing broker while you're trying to secure the deal?
No, that's, I would say if
Or is
it
that
was,
overkill?
no, the listing broker where they really come in with us is they come in on closing, right? Because the deal's done, they start designing out. My team's trained on allowances. So it's going, hey, we pulled these comps, we're factoring these allowances in for these comps here. And so then the broker that gives feedback has to pick up stuff below those allowances. And so I don't think it's going to help you get the deal. Now, if it's a random wholesale deal and you're going to have that listing broker, yes, I think that's important to call them and go, hey, look, I'm looking at this property based on what you see on the comps. What do you think I need to do? And how nice do you think I need to do this? Do I need to make it basic, luxury, normal flip, like kind of base hit style house? Like, we call them like signature, premium, elite. Like we have different qualifications for that product. Yes, if you're looking at a deal from an outside source, that's where that feedback, get that feedback. How nice do I need to do it? You can do it flip grade, but
Right.
you want to make, you want to definitely up it on your tile game, your appliances, all those things. That broker should be able to tell you that.
Okay.
You don't need to do that before you commit. If the person's bringing it to you going, hey, we've already looked at this. Like my team's a little different because I'm the one that directs them and goes, these are the allowances we're sticking with based on these price points here.
Right. Okay.
And so
in a way, so that's already, so you've already filtered through that, right? Essentially, like what you were saying is that when you give them the allowances, you're giving them the direction and saying, okay, this is the guardrails. This is kind of like what we have to make sure that
Yep.
we're sticking through with the comps and, the budget, all that stuff, right? So it sounds like it's not necessary, right? To have a listing broker then look at the work of the acquisition broker.
No, not with our team because we train it that way. But
Okay.
if
got
you're
it.
looking at an outside deal, having that broker on your team, and that's really what I'm trying to drive home to people. Is like,
Got it.
no matter where
Yeah.
you guys get deal flow from, you should always have that dependable broker that you go, I can call this person. I'll give them any business that I can, right? Some deals come with list back, some don't, but they're going to give me that feedback. When they pull comps, they can say, hey, look, John, you need to do this to it. And you need to
Yeah.
probably do it. You need to go super high end to get that price, do custom cabinets, custom counters, custom appliances, or this is kind of like a basic flip where you're doing new cabinets, countertops, tile floors everywhere. You got to make it nice, but thrifty.
Right.
And that
Man,
broker
I've
should
been-
always
I've
be
been-
able to tell you that based on the comps they pull.
I've been wasting so much time, James, trying to do this myself. When I get these outside deals from other wholesalers, because I've been looking at all the comps and doing it all myself, right? So what you're talking about is just like leveraging, the folks that can help, me be more efficient. And I have not done that part of the process. I've just, if I'm getting these deal flow from outside sources, I'm basically doing all the analysis like on my own. So I haven't been, that's an area that I need to start reaching out to some brokers to get some help on. So that's super helpful.
Yeah, and you always let them know if there's a list back involved, and that's fine if there's not, right? Be like, hey, I'll get you it later, or that should be the relationship. But yeah, because John, right now, like as we kind of go through these weeks, like you're still also trying to get a grasp on your contractor and whether he's the right guy or not for your projects. And so if they're
Yeah.
doing that underwriting for you, that just gives you more free time to keep talking to your contractor, figuring out pricing, or talking to a new contractor that's actually going to get you into the deal.
Yeah.
And so that's why you guys, that person's so important. You can focus on what your roadblock is to getting that deal done.
Yeah. Really good stuff. Thank you.
Yep. Haley, how are you?
Hey James, good. How are you?
Doing good. How's
Good,
Arizona?
good. It's great. Just hanging out, enjoying the weather before it gets too hot. So, yeah. But I don't know if this is what happens in Seattle, but do you find that you have to use a different broker or agent, like based off of area? Because that is kind of happening. I'm parsing away from using like the realtor contractor combo and just going back to like a traditional investor role.
Okay.
But do you find that you tend to have different brokers in for different areas? 'Cause that's at least what I'm finding in Arizona.
Um, depending on how far the stretch is, say, and you know, that's a little like, for example, there's Bainbridge Island, which is like this island right off Seattle. It's really cool. 30-minute ferry ride, you're in Seattle. So you can live on the island, be in there. One thing I do know is if you sell anything on that island, you better use a Bainbridge Island broker. Like you do not want to list it on your own. Even if I'm buying a deal, I'm like, nope, I'm using a broker out there because they actually won't show your houses unless you're using that community. Um, and so there are pockets like that, but I don't think that it's necessary myself because it's either my broker knows how to read through data and knows the market or they don't.
Okay.
And so I don't feel that way. You know, I think there's a reach for sure. Like, you know, I don't want to have a broker driving 45 minutes, 50 minutes to get to a listing every time. That's not going to be great.
Right.
But I don't think you have to. And I've seen a lot of investor brokers down there that they're in all sorts of stuff. They're in like high-end premium new construction, and then they're selling, you know, flips in Mesa that are more starters. And so I don't think that's technically necessary. It might just be how they farm their territories. Some brokers, you know, to be a efficient broker, you really want to focus on one thing, like whether it's investors or area or location or types of product. And that just might be happening is because they're really pounding that one specific area.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been kind of running into that as far as like the east side and the west side, as far as like east side, Scottsdale, Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler, Tempe, and then west side, Glendale, Sun City areas like Litchfield. You're probably already seeing that because they really don't cross that line. I have found that. But again, I think it goes back to your point of like being able to read the data and parse out the data. I'm struggling with the speed at which they can get me data. So I just still haven't found the right broker that can like take the place of replacing the previous two that I've been using on past things. So if there's anyone on this call that is in Arizona that wants to
Ashley is she's up next and she's hustling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ashley Bullock. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks, James.
And then Haley too, like if you do have like that east side, west side thing going on, that's
Yeah.
okay. Just find one for each side.
Okay. Yep.
It's like, you know, there's definitely nothing wrong with that at all. You know, I definitely have different brokers that I use to sell different assets for me, for sure.
Okay.
You can have a few, for sure. Like, and you know, you might have one luxury one too, and then you can have a couple that are dependable. It's just all about building that relationship. And so, but yeah, and also if they're not moving fast enough, then fuck it. Excuse my language, guys, but like if they can't get me data fast enough, how are they going to be fast enough to get me a deal?
Right. Yeah. And I literally just had to cancel on a deal. I picked up earnest money today on a deal in Pine Top, but not in Pine. I'm sorry, not Pine Top, but Pine. And it was going to be a tear down, so I would have canceled anyways. But she did not get me the data, so I was like, I can't buy this without the data. So, anyways, I'm frustrated with brokers right now.
You know, you guys, it's across the board. And I'm not saying all, you know what? I will say this. I sell a lot of properties, guys, not just investors. We sell them on market too, right? So we deal with all sorts of different types of brokers. I can honestly say 90 to 95% of brokers are not very good at their jobs. They are really just pushing paper for their clients. They're not giving them the right advice. They're not educating them correctly, and they don't really know what they're doing. And I see it all the time. Like, you know what drives me nuts is when a broker, we have a pre-inspection on a property and they go, hey, can you send us the pre-inspection? My client's going to, so they can use it as their inspection. I'm like, that is the worst advice you could ever give a client. The pre-inspection is just a third-party report that someone inspected, your client should also know there's probably things missing on there because it's a third party. If I bring out 3 pre-inspectors to a house, they're going to give me 3 different reports and they're all going to have a little bit of different stuff on it. And so it's just, I would say they're not great at communicating and they're not, but then there's, you guys, the 7%, there's also a lot of brokers. There's great brokers out there. And those are who we want to find. And you got to go through the fluff. I mean, in Newport Beach, it took me years to find my right guy.
Okay.
And now he's my
Yeah.
guy. I call him, I trust him, you know, and it took me a long time. But this broker that I found, finally, he does luxury, but he got me a builder I could work with. He ran comps for me and CMAs. He would check out properties. And once we built that relationship, you know, he's just, I will always use him there.
Okay.
And so,
So it sounds like I just haven't found my person yet.
yeah, but and you guys set the tone up front with the people. Hey, I'm Haley. I buy a lot of properties. I mean, you're a great client.
Yeah.
You get things done. You buy 2, 4, maybe 5 properties a year.
Hmm.
That means they're getting 5 purchases and 5 resales. That's 10 transactions a year that they could do with you up to.
Right.
That's a lot of transactions someone could get. So you can set the tone. Hey, look, I'm looking for some new brokers. This is what I'm looking for. When you send me a deal, here's my bullet point. I need you to send it this way or you will not get a response. I'm not trying to be rude.
Right.
When you list the property, hey, I'm going to let you do your thing. You got to list it the way you need to list it, communicate, but I need this information on Mondays.
Okay.
And you guys set that tone up front with people and then they'll either do it or not. And if they don't do it, then I wouldn't even bother to open their emails anymore.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do you the trick that you just mentioned about the using title agents because I've got one I can reach out to and see who's doing all the LLC work.
Yeah, and Ashley, she's I was gonna try to connect with her down there too. It's because Ashley, you were working a lot of it was Glendale and what areas?
No, I'm in the Gilbert area, so
Gilbert, I'm
Queen
sorry.
Creek,
I always mix up
Mesa.
Gilbert and Glendale, the G's.
Perfect. Ashley, I will contact you.
Perfect.
So-
Yeah, that would be great because last week some of the questions that I had for James was more about like the evaluation of the different areas. And we talked a little bit about absorption rates and all of that. And I had a question back to that just because I was able to go through the zip codes in Gilbert and
There you
Queen
go, though,
Creek.
but you got right on it, didn't you?
I did actually. But I was curious because I noticed that every zip code had just a few listings that were, above $1 million, like maybe, anywhere between 1.3 to 1.7. Some had a couple that were like in the 2s. Would you filter that information out when you're trying to account for that? Or are you just trying to get a general picture of everything in that zip code?
So what I would do, Ashley, is I would go by like what would be. I'm gonna role play this a little bit with Haley, right? And so like let's say Haley is a flipper and she is always flipped in North Scottsdale. She's like, this is just where I am. This is where I am. But the deals have gotten so tight. It's so competitive. There's way too much inventory. I'm kind of looking for some new spots. And so what we want to do is guide them towards safe investments or areas that are selling well. And so like in Gilbert, like you're saying there were some outliers that were like over $1 million, right? And then the rest are below.
Yeah, like in every zip code, there were just a few that were between 1 and 2 million. It seemed there were a couple zip codes that were above that had some much higher end type stuff. But for the most part, I would say between that 1.2 to 1.7, there were always a couple outliers within the active or pending listings that had kind of the higher price point. So I wasn't sure how much that was impacting the numbers or if I should still, if I should be factoring in everything in a given zip code or how you typically evaluate that.
Yeah. So what I would do and you can go to like, you can batch your zip codes too and bundle them a little bit. Like, you could even just do all of Gilbert and go by price points. So you could do like 5 in this do 500 to 750. And then do 750 to $1 million. And then do like $1 million to $1.5 million. And so then,
Okay.
you know, as Haley's looking at that market, she can go, oh, okay, you know, because then what you're really providing there is value to an investor, because you're going, hey, this is a great market in here, but the sweet spot that you want to be buying in, that where things sell the fastest, there's the least amount of competition, or least amount of inventory, and there's the most buyer demand, is in Gilbert from 700 to 900.
Okay.
And from, you know, because here's the absorption rate. Here's 10 active, or there's 10 total homes right now, 8 are pending. We have an 80% absorption rate right here.
Okay.
But from 500 to 750, it's 50-50. You know, we have 10 homes for sale. There's only 5 pending.
Okay.
And so you can break it down. And so that's why I said, don't go by zip code, because then all of a sudden you're just going to be really over inundating yourself. You could do like your 3 core cities there and just break down your general kind of price points and do them in like, you know, $200,000 blocks. And that will help with the kind of the information, because then you're also not over pounding the information to the client too.
Perfect. No, that makes sense. Yeah, because I saw it and I knew I was probably gonna have to go back through and look at it a little bit differently, but I was just curious after our call to see what, and then my other question would be, is there a target absorption rate that you look for? Are you just looking kind of for the better absorption rate compared to other parts of town?
I'm just always looking for the better points. And then, you know, a lot of what I'm doing is a broker summarizing it to the client, going,
Okay.
this has more pending sales, more absorption rates. So this is the best area to be in. So if I came and talked to you about Gilbert, you're going to go, okay, well, in these areas, there's all sorts of different types of deals. You know, we can look at more expensive, we can look at more affordable, but the sweet spot for a flipper is this, because you know, if it's 30% absorption, but the rest is 10, that just means it's better.
Okay.
And so, and for you as a broker, it'll really help you the more you guys, as the brokers on the call, the more direct we are with investors with data, going, hey, this is the information we have, and this is what this means. That's how we get to they make a decision.
Perfect.
And so it's always taking that and going, hey, this is why I like this part of Gilbert, this price point. And by the way, over here in Mesa, if you want to do a little bit more expensive flips, it's actually better over here, because, you know, maybe this price point's selling a little bit more in the absorption. And so you're taking the information and you're bringing it back to them with a summary of like, here's my guidance. Because that's really what investors want, guys. Like, I mean, how many investors on this call meet a broker and they're like, okay, what do you want? And then they don't have any feedback. And it's going, hey, I want to buy a deal. And the broker goes, hey, this is what you want to buy, and here's why. I'm going to go, okay, I'm listening now. And so those are great things. Like, now that you're like playing around with that, those are great things to think about. And then, or like the sale to price ratio I talk about. Hey, everything in this neighborhood is selling at 103% of list price, whereas over in these neighborhoods, they're selling at 95% of list price. So this area is in high demand. That tells me everyone wants to live here. And so it helps you narrow that down. And also, when you're looking at a deal, you know, if there's a market that's selling at 103% of list price or 95%, I might want to buy this deal at 95% at, you know, maybe like a $50,000 profit or a 35% return. But this one has such high demand, I might drop my return expectations too. So I'm training the client to go, hey, this is a better market, so you can buy a little tighter deal here too. And that's what will help you transact, because you know the information and the data on it.
No, that makes sense. And curious what the broker had to say about Glendale that has you looking over there.
Oh, you know what though? I was mixing up with Gilbert.
Oh, okay. I was like, yeah,
It
because I
wasn't
was
Glendale. I keep doing that too. Gilbert, and yeah, I don't know why. Every time I think of Gilbert, I think of the Gilbert Goons, because when I moved down there, I was reading that news articles.
Oh, yeah.
That was what a bunch of punk kids.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Telling
Rich
me
punk
that was
kids.
that was ongoing for a little bit.
Yeah. If you guys want a good read about the Gilbert Goons in Arizona. It's weird.
Plays preppy gangsters.
Preppy gangsters. That's exactly what they are.
The other thing too, maybe this is for Ashley, but James, that you mentioned about having your broker call, like, maybe after we've already purchased the property, or even when we're just shopping in an area, I'll ask them like, hey, did you call this listing? What's the activity? Hey, did you call this listing? Get their feedback. They're like, no. I'm like, that to me is like such an obvious like gold mine of information, because
Hmm.
for me, if I was a broker, I would want to be networking with other people to like, hey, we've worked on a deal in the past, like you want to accept my deal or my offer. So that's just like another piece of feedback, I guess. If people are not willing or are willing to go call other active listings or ones that are pending, that's like I thought that was a really, really great piece of advice that you gave previously, James.
Yeah, and you guys, it's good to give the expectations of, hey, if you want the list back, I just need you to do these things, right? Like, and so every one of us wants to know different information. But what we don't want is the broker not to call us and communicate with us. Or just to say, hey, we're trying to sell the house and we're marketing it. Well, what does that mean? Like, when a person sits down and talks to me about listing their property, the favorite question I have, because brokers spin this, is the seller's always like, so what kind of marketing do you do for the property? And I'm like, the same as everyone else, but we actually work the phones. Because it doesn't matter if it's on Zillow and 100 different things, which it will be, like everyone else. And, like, especially if I'm competing against like a bigger brokerage, they have all this fancy marketing. And I'm like, no, that's all great, but it all goes into the same spot. What we do is we work the phones, and this is the information. This is how we're going to communicate with you. And it almost outsells the other people every time, because they're just using a presentation that is plugged into, whereas we're being salespeople. And so you guys, the job of a real estate broker is to sell the property. And so selling means communicating. Communicating means calling, texting, and emailing anybody that's interested in this property or something that's preventing the sale. And so just write out what your expectations are, guys. Always have those bullet points out, right? I talk about it in Project Flip. I talk about it in Project Broker. Like, that's what I expect, and that's what the information you should want. And just say, hey, even if someone's giving me a deal that I'm going to give them the list back on, I go, hey, I'm totally cool with the list back. I want to get you paid, but just so you know, when you list this, I expect these things. Are you cool with that? Or if you want, I can have one of my brokers jump on as a co-list broker. You pay them a point, and they'll do all that, and you don't need to worry about it. And so you guys, as clients, we can ask for that, right? That's not unreasonable either. We're not asking them to do it for free. We just want them to call, make sure that our product's moving, because every day that goes by takes away from our profit. Alex. Ooh, you're on mute.
All right. Okay. Thanks. I can't wait to bring this up to the listing agent I've been talking to. So the listing agent for my comp that I've been talking to, sorry, my camera's all weird. I originally asked him to send me a few addresses that he's listed for flips. So he said he flips himself as well. And he sent me like 3 or 4 but that's it. Is that something that I should be concerned about? Just like that he sent me just 3 or 4?
No, I don't think so. Are they recent?
They are somewhat recent. The other thing, which I'm gonna ask him about on Friday, is some of them look like they took a really long time from when they were purchased to when they were listed. Because remember, he's like referring his contractors to me, so that's another thing I'm gonna bring up. But yeah, they were recent.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a good thing to look at the days on market. One thing I would do too is, because you want the answer out of them, but then I like to like double check and look at like, okay, in that area when something sells, how long does it take to sell on Zillow?
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be a really long time, but it also could be the average.
Okay.
And so, I would definitely ask like, hey, I saw these, it took a long time to sell. Why do you think it took so long to sell? Like, was it the the scope of work that was done? Was it market conditions or what happens?
Okay. And then I guess at like this point, all of the things that you mentioned, I'm gonna set the expectations. He's already referring to contractors. He helped get like another roof quote, but like anything else that he should be doing at this point, I need him to call the active that's on the same street. Um,
No, I like that this guy's working for you though, because the last 5 you've been talking about, man, they've not brought any value. So this guy,
that's true.
you guys, this is a great little case study too, right? Alex has been building her business in flipping business in Florida. She has talked to all sorts of different brokers. I finally was like, stop talking to these people. Like they're just not doing any good for you. And then she was looking at a deal and she called the broker that sold the flip. Because he goes, those are the people we want, people selling flip properties. And now she's still interviewing them and not rushing in, which is great. But this broker now, she went from having people that would just send her basically deals, go, what do you think? To this guy's getting her roof quotes. He's trying to get Alex said she had a bid from her contractor. He's like, I think I can get it done cheaper. You want me to bring some guys out? So he's adding value that way. And then when she makes a request, he gets it right over to her. Like, here's 3 houses that I just sold. And so, that's the kind of person that we're looking for right there. And so far, I mean, it does look, I mean, he's definitely doing the work though.
Okay. I have one more question, not broker related, because I forgot to ask. But if I guess, do I need to have them sign the construction contract like for the demo or like for before demo? Like I still don't know if it's gonna be the same person or a different person.
I don't know if you need to do the straight construction contract for that, but you want a detailed scope of work from the contractor, like not just demo. Like,
Okay.
what's in the demo? It just needs to be clarified, like cabinets. So that new scope of work checklist that we loaded in, that's a good one to hit, right? Because it's like cabinets, switches, light fixtures, just make it checked out. And just, because the last thing you want to do is hire the demo company and then like, oh, well, we weren't supposed to take out this wall. Now you got to pay an extra $400 here. And so
Okay.
just, make sure in their demo quote, it's very clear, like all trash is being removed and included in the quote. That's a big one that can hit you. And then just exactly what they're demoing and not demoing.
And then they'll give me the bid and I'll have the scope of work and we just both sign on it.
Yep.
Like sign it. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Construction contracts probably overkill for those guys.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. And then one more quick one, sorry. If I decide to go with a different roofer, and not my general, how do I bring that up to my general? Because I think you said one time that you can ask them what their markup percentage is and then kind of pay them that.
Well, you don't have a general with a bid yet, though.
Well, I still have the one guy who's not really a GC, but I'm gonna get quotes from others. But if I decide to go with him, so far he quoted me 18,000 for a roof, and I have one guy that quoted me 12,900. Yeah.
That one I would just I would pull it off just because you haven't even started yet. Just, you can just be like, hey, we got demo going. I hired a roofer and then, just take it off. And honestly, if he's barking the roof up that much anyways, that kind of would rub me the wrong way.
Yeah, right? Okay.
It's when I take it away, but that's when I've already committed to a quote to them too. Like, if my contractor had cabinets on their quote and countertops, and then I decide to use a different company, I'll find out with that because we've already contracted that work. And so I'm still going to pay him for that work on his margin.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just not competitive. I mean, if this guy beat him by 30%, they beat him by 30%.
Okay. So I just tell him I'm not going to use them for the roof, and if I decide to use them for everything else, then that's that.
Well, and I would tell your contractor too, like, hey, I'm glad we got the scope of work. We're going through it. We had some unknowns, which he already threw at you.
Mm-hmm.
And say, so we're going to take that scope of work and we're going to walk it after demo and finalize it.
Okay.
And then,
Yep.
and when you're walking through it, and be like, oh, by the way, I don't need the roof on here anymore.
Okay, cool.
And then, you know, honestly, if he's like, oh, why? I'd be like, oh, sorry, you know, I just got some roof quotes and man, they're like $4,000 cheaper than you. Then all of a sudden he's gonna be like, oh shit, this girl's gonna price me out. I better give her an honest quote.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not a bad thing to be like, oh, because you never committed to it anyways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You mentioned one time that when I was telling you that I was considering subbing it out, that that's not a good idea for the first one, but like you said something about if I do the roof and then we have to do some sort of plumbing. Because if I decide to do the roof now, like, do I have to let the general know? I don't want to mess up. Like,
Well,
the
I think when you're walking the scope of work with him, you can say, oh, by the way, I got a roofer and they're gonna, because the roofer is gonna come after demo. And then you're gonna meet your contractors on demo. Right after demo. So you can just say, oh, by the way, this is already going on. You know, the roof's going on. You're gonna need to put in your plumbing vents and everything through it.
Okay, got it.
It's just
Oops.
it was also about sometimes cost difference, but I was like, well, if they're close, it almost makes sense to give it to the general, but I mean that's way off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Okay. Thank you.
yep. So you guys always price the stuff out, especially things like roofs. You know, we just had a general, a great dude, but he gave me a quote on the roof, and I had my roofer came in lower, so I gave it to the roofer. Right? It was just I gave him the rest of the stuff, but I'm going to save money. The contractor's going to charge you money when he can, or they can. If you can save and you haven't committed, by all means, price them out. And then it really does set the tone that you're checking the numbers. So, Birdie, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
So yeah, I had a couple of questions about stuff we were talking about. So I was trying to do research on like Zillow and stuff and trying to find the right broker. And I was looking at usually people who are listing the flips, but is it a good idea to like look for brokers that are listing the flips, or is it better to find somebody who can find the deal for me?
Well, a lot of times, start with the list of the ones listing and selling the flips. And then as you call them, the first question I would say, like, oh, yeah, I saw you listed that property. It looked good. Do you work with investors a lot? Oh, by the way, did you source that deal for them? Because if they are sourcing the deal, they're probably one and the same. For building your broker team, I would think that that's the more important person. The person finding the deal, I mean, it could also just been like a wholesaler where they're not giving you good advice. They just sold the property that way, but they didn't underwrite it correctly. And so the broker on your team is going to help you with the underwriting and the firmness of the offer. And so I would say they're separate, but you want to focus more on the sell one on that.
Okay.
And then, you know, that's a good, typically, especially if we're looking for that title rep that gives us a person that constantly sells LLCs,
Mhm.
they're going to have access to deal flow too.
Okay. Okay. And so when we ask brokers to send their comps, is it a good idea to like still do your own research apart from those comps, or do you like fully rely on the comps that the broker sends? Like, I won't know initially whether they're really good at comping or not. So, like, is it worth it to spend time outside of those comps?
I would double check, especially the first couple ones. You should always double check everything. Like when a broker gives me a deal, they're going to give me the CMA that I'm looking for. And I saw that question. Yeah. So you guys, a CMA, it's a comparative market analysis, but really what it is, it's relative proper, you know, it's just homes that are selling of similar condition, similar type of product. And that's what they call a CMA. It's really just pulling comps. And so I'm always going to double check it because it's my job at the end of the day to verify the information. And I'm going to look through it. Now, some brokers will send me out more. I mean, there's some of my favorite brokers that are very talented guys. Like I've literally, the reason I was 5 minutes late on the call, I told my number on a house. He's like, you know what? I tied it up for 9:15. Let's go look at it. I'm like, I call him like, dude, no. I told you 875 was max. He's like, well, let's just go look at it. and this guy's very talented. He knows the business really well. I'm like, the basement's not finishable. I cannot be above 875. I don't need to go look at this. And he's like, well, I'm looking at comps. I'm like, but the basement, I'm looking at the basement. We can't finish it. So he's looking at it a little bit broader. And he's like, oh crap, I contractor. What do I do? I'm like, we'll beat down the price, but this is my number. And so I still double checked it because I was looking at things a little differently than him. And he's a really good broker. So I always want to double check it. But what we're trying to do is get that broker when you get that outside deal that can dig deep. Like, so he sent me a bunch of comps and I'm looking at his comps and going, okay, these are a little off because his square footages are off. And so, but I saw other ones which kept me in the lower side. And then when I verified, I can go, yeah, we're going to be at 1.3 on the house. Whereas if it was bigger, it'd be 1.5. And so, you know, always double check, but I can still depend on his information, but I still want to go through and dig a little deeper on it.
Okay. Okay. And I have some other questions about non-broker related.
And
So,
can I say one more thing too about
Yeah.
spot checking the brokers, guys? How you know a broker's good at underwriting a deal and selling is look at their list price to their sale price. So like if you have the title rep pull the list of brokers that are selling the most LLCs and you pull those listings, like let's say a broker sold 30 listings and you pull 6 of them and all 6 are like right around list price that they originally listed for, that means they're good at underwriting their deal. Typically.
Research on that too. Yeah. So, you said in the whole course about LLCs whether you can make like a whole LLC for the year or per house. Like if I make LLC per house, like how do you manage the business bank accounts and stuff like that for that? Like, do you still do business bank accounts for every LLC?
Yes. So unfortunately, that's why I, as a flipper, keep one company for a year or so and then we wind them down because you have to have a bank account for every LLC because title won't give you. So if you ever sell a property, title won't give you any money unless it's the bank account is in the seller's name. And so let's say it's James Daynard LLC. And I have another property called Purdy LLC. But James Daynard's the flipping LLC. But when that closes, if I don't have a bank account in Purdy LLC, the title company can't give the check anywhere.
Okay.
It has to be made out to the same seller's bank account.
Okay.
And many of them won't do that way. And so, and the other thing is too with the LLCs, if you're putting money at a one account, but you're paying for these other investments, there's no coverage on the LLC. Because once you start commingling funds from one, you know, if this entity's paying for this over here, if it went through a lawsuit, the judge is going to say they're the same thing. And
Okay.
so you do want to have all that layering to go through on that.
Okay. So is it just a better idea to like do one LLC for the whole year? Because like opening and closing these business bank accounts is going to be a big hassle then.
It is a big hassle. That's why I don't do it personally. Now, an attorney that is going to work on like protection and they're going to tell you the opposite. Because they got to give you the best legal advice, which you're the most protected if each entity is in its own form, standing on its own, and then shutting it down.
Okay.
I would say it's kind of a nightmare though. And if you are going to do it, guys, the best thing that you can do for that is work with a small business bank, because in a small business bank, when I set up an LLC, I don't ever have to go into their office. They send me the documents, I sign them, I send them in, they set up the bank account. With big banks like Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you have to go into their bank, you sit there for an hour and a half, you're filling out all the forms, and then finally you have a bank account. And so I would go to a small bank if you're going to do that for sure, because then you never have to go in. The paperwork's just sent back and forth and you're done.
Okay. Okay. That actually already answers my other question. I talked to a broker and he was like, "Oh, I get so many deals sent, but if I send you any deal, you have to be ready with a check because we have to move fast, like especially with wholesalers and stuff." And then I was like, "Do I use my personal account checks or like a business account because I'm gonna buy it in an LLC, but then I'm already mixing funds, I guess, if I do that."
Yeah, and so what I would say is I would get one LLC set up for your flipping business now, regardless,
Mm-hmm.
because we know we're going to get into a deal at some point. And so I would just get that set up so it's set up and ready to go for yourself.
Okay.
And then just, just leave a little bit of money in there for an earnest money deposit. And, also too, if you had to, and you're really worried about that, like if I gave personally a check to the escrow and say, "Hey, here's 10,000 earnest money," they'll also exchange it out for me if I ever need to. Be like, "Hey, I actually was supposed to do this at my business account. Can I swap you out checks?" They'll usually swap it out at that point.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then I posted a question in the Facebook group. I think you asked me a counter question on that, but I asked about the S Corp versus C Corp or something about LLCs. I was just reading about this to figure out like what is the best way to do this. Like I have a W-2 income, so I was trying to figure out if it would be better for me to like do a pass-through LLC or like a corporation. If you have any suggestions about that.
Oh, okay. So I will tell you what I do. And so you guys, one thing about corporate structures in that I really do want you guys to talk to an accountant because they need to look at what you have going on with yourself first. That we always want to go to an accountant for that to talk to them about setting those things up because everyone's situation is a little bit different. How I have my entity set up though is I have an S Corp. The S Corp is like it is my basically the head of all my businesses. All the LLCs then feed into this S Corp. My flipping business, rental business, hard money, it all feeds into one central S Corp. The reason we do that is because I can put myself on payroll. And so I'm on payroll, which makes me a little bit more bankable. And also it allows me to open up a 401k for that company, which then I have funded and I've been able to lend money and do some investing on my 401k. There's also audit benefits for it because of how you guys, one of the main reasons I have it in S Corp because I kept getting audited on things and it's because of how it showed up on like my passive income from hard money was like this kind of high income but low cost of goods and so it would flag almost every time and I would get audited and went to 3 audits, didn't owe any money every time, but it was like this annoying thing. And so now like it's how it also feeds up because it also like it's like how IRS agent looks at it. It's just it like layers it in to where it's just like it shows an entity making this much money rather than a bunch of income and cost of goods sold in there. And so it also helps me with audits. But they all have a different purpose and a different structure depending on what your household income is. And so I would talk to an accountant. I personally have an S Corp and all the LLCs feed into it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's all the questions I have. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good questions. All right, I see Alicia. I'm going to jump over to a couple questions in the text box and then you're up on deck. So Sana asks, "Hey James, I have a floor plan question. I don't like having a sink next to the range. I agree with that concept in general, but it also depends, you guys, on comps and what is selling, right? Sometimes we're flipping a very small little house and all the appliances are stacked on each other and all the comps are that way, so I'm okay with it. But it says, I don't like having a sink next to the range. How do you suggest moving the sink? Is it better to swap the dishwasher and sink, moving the sink and dishwasher into the island, swapping the range and refrigerator?" Oh, there it is. And we got a floor plan. Perfect. Thank you for bringing that in. Okay. Open file. Let me share it for everybody. saving it real quick. All right. For some reason, this is being very difficult about opening. What's that, guys? There we go. All right. All right, so here's the floor plan here. Okay, so you got your, yeah, range, sink, dishwasher. Okay, so things to think about, where do we move it to? First thing is we want to go with the budget, because if we move the sink and the dishwasher into the island, that could work. Or you could move the range into the island and do a downdraft range on it that way. That's going to be the two most expensive options. And so, like, anytime we're moving utilities away from things, it's going to cost more. And so, if we're tight on our budget, we definitely want to consider that. Moving the range is always going to be a little bit more money, because you got to move the 220 power. That's going to cost more with an electrician. So the cheapest way would be, yes, to swap your sink and dishwasher around, because then your sink is still looking out the window, your dishwasher's next to your range, and then it's kind of set up right. But what I would also do is you have like I think it's like a 2.4, so that's 26-inch cabinet right here at the end. I would go to like an 18-inch cabinet and then put like another drawer bank cabinet in between that dishwasher and sink. That's going to be the cheapest way for you to adjust that, because you put a little bit of filler in between your range so it breaks it up. Your plumbing and your sink are being swapped around, so you're moving the least amount of plumbing, and then your range is just getting shifted down, which is just pulling the wire down. And so that's going to be the most cost-effective way to balance this out a little bit. In worst case too, you could leave the sink there and then just move the range over and shrink your cabinets to like two 12-inch or two 15-inch cabinets. And then at least you have that break in there. The sink and dishwasher could definitely go here, but it's going to cost you more. It's going to cost you more on your island, because they got to do more cuts on your slab. And then you got to run all your plumbing over and then vent it out the side. So that's going to be your second most expensive option. Third option is putting the range in the island, which is going to cost the power moving. That's going to be roughly $1,000 to $1,500 roughly. And then you have to buy a downdraft range, which is going to cost you about $1,000 to $1,500 more for your range. And so it's going to cost more. And so that's a kind of a budgeting question. Your fridge, I don't think there's any benefit to moving it out, because your power's not going to be big enough to bring your range over anyways. Those would really be the three options that I would do on this. I mean, you could. This down. One question, actually, Alicia, on this 2.6, are the cabinets coming all the way over too?
That's Sahana.
Oh, Sahana, I'm sorry. Alicia was next on the question. Sahana, yes, this is on Sahana. Do you have cabinets running? This looks like it ends. Are you running your cabinets to the end right here?
No, that will be the end as shown in the plan.
Okay, if it was me, I'd probably run my cabinets all the way to this end corner here too, because it's not that expensive.
Okay.
And then that's where, if you really wanted to break it up, you then could swap your sink over here, or you could even just shift your sink and dishwasher down a little bit and then keep your range here too.
Okay. So the idea behind ending the cabinets over there is to make the living room bigger. That was the only intention to so that it feels bigger.
Okay, so how many feet do you have right here? Okay, so I'm sorry, line of floor, that does not mean it's a drop down. I'm sorry, I was reading that wrong. Are they the same elevation?
No. So the living room is like almost 19 feet because we have an open space above the living room and then we have this second floor.
Okay, but is the kitchen and the living room on the same floor height?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, now I see what you're saying then.
And this is a Dadu project in Kirkland. So this will be a new construction. So everything will be wired new. My
Oh,
only
okay. So, got it. So this isn't a rental. This is new.
yes.
All right. Then this is a different thing then. Now we can mess with whatever we want.
Okay.
All right. Here, let me mock up something for you. Yeah, I don't, what's the price point in Kirkland though? It's probably going to be 1.5 or above.
This is around like 1.1.
Okay, 1.1. So a little bit more affordable one in Kirkland then.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say that a dad who's 1.1's affordable, but it is. Okay, so yeah, because one thing I don't really like, your kitchen's missing a lot of boxes in it, right? Because this is a butler in here.
Yes.
Is this a butler pantry type thing?
That's the butler pantry. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, right now, though, as I'm counting out these boxes, you have one where the fridge is,
Mhm.
and then you got one over here, and then you got your island. So there's not a lot of cabinet space in here at all.
Yeah.
And that's a little concerning. And then your width of your living room, though, is 3. There's those 5s or 3s. Those are
That's 5.
5, 3-ish, right?
Yeah.
And 2. So you're roughly 12 feet wide on your living room.
Yeah. Around 17 feet wide.
Yeah, there's a couple. All right. I'm gonna tear this up a little bit, okay?
Okay.
I'll kind of explain to everybody as I'm doing this. Because I feel like there's some other wasted space here that we could. Oh, wait, now I see what they're doing here. Because I don't really love that your washer dryer is going right into your kitchen island too. You know. Uh which architect is this?
Northwest Architects.
Okay. And because this is kind of an approved plan too, right? So we can't move too many walls around.
Not yet. Like it's still in the preliminary stage.
Okay. All right. This is let me do this real quick. I'm gonna play with this a little bit. All right. It's a good exercise for everybody. And I don't think it's a bad plan. I just think we can make it a little better. It's good to know that price point. What's the total square footage on the unit too?
1,200.
Okay, so it's a full
Interior is
size.
1,200. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do this. All right. Now what we're gonna do is let's share this. Screen is stuck. One sec. Computer's being a little finicky. Sorry guys, there's like a screen stuck. on this. You know what we're gonna do is I kind of get this ready. I'm gonna jump to the next question, then we're gonna pull this up and map this thing out, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. And then we had Alicia.
Yeah, thanks. I have some questions just logistical in terms of the broker. So when you are talking to these brokers, are you kind of calling them out of the blue? Or are you kind of emailing them and setting up a time because you want to have like a good 15-minute conversation? How do you kind of approach that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'll just straight call them out of the blue because I want to see if they pick up the phone.
Okay.
And then, you know, just depending on what they got going on, I'll say, hey, you know, this, I always like to call the broker and say, hey, I'm James. I've been an active real estate investor. I'm an investor in the area, or I just moved down here. I'm just looking in the area. And I'm talking to some brokers because, you know, I'm looking to do some volume and I want to get kind of a dependable team member. I saw you sold a lot of flip houses. Is this a good time to chat for a couple minutes, or should we set up a time to talk?
Okay.
Because I also want to see how they take that on the phone too.
Okay.
I would just call them straight up that way. I mean, because again, you guys remember you're the client. That's what I think has happened. You know, when COVID got so hot, it was like people forgot who the client was. And there's like, hey, if you want a house, we're gonna try to get you whatever you have, and we're gonna throw this. It was like the service kind of went down. But you are the client, they can bring them business, right? So you're the one bringing them value, and what you're asking for is to bring them value back. And so, if they don't kind of treat you that way, I would just move on to the next person for sure.
Okay. And then when you were saying that they are empowered to shoot out offers, are you looking at those before they go out? Is it because you've seen them, analyze deals and you started to feel comfortable and at a certain point you were more hands off? Or do you look at everything like the 30 that they're sending out each week?
Oh no, they sent me their rough numbers on them. Like they'll send me comps and say, hey, look, because I still give them price guidance on that. Like, hey, this house is listed for 300. I have comps for 440. You know, it's a 3-bed, 1-bath. You'd have to turn it into a 3-bed, 2-bath. Here's the photos.
Okay.
And
Okay,
then
so you
I
look at
kind of
it.
give them the pricing recommendation, but they're the ones just firing them out. Cause I'm like, well, I got to be at 250 instead of 300. So can you fire those out?
Okay. Just making notes. And then, like I have a broker that I've worked with, and by no means am I getting this level of service. And I mean, we've worked together more when I was doing like rentals and stuff like that. And, I wasn't trying to do the amount of volume. Would you recommend like even talking to the broker that I've been working with and say, like, as I'm trying to do volume, I'm going to need to work differently. Are you interested? Or should I just kind of assume that's not how they work? It's not how they've been thinking, and not even try to teach an old dog new tricks? Like, what would you think about that?
Oh no, I would definitely give them the option. It just, it's about being clear in your needs.
Okay.
And, part of that is like your needs are your needs, right? And say, hey, look, this is a different type of business. And I love, we had a great relationship. I'd love to keep working with you, but I just want to sit down and let you know what I need out of this to make this work for me. And then go over what you want and see if they can service it. And they might have some great ideas. You never know. Like, oh yeah, I can do this. I can do this. Or they'd be like, oh, okay. And be like, hey, if they don't seem like they're jumping at it, I'd probably start looking for someone else.
Okay, that's helpful. And then I didn't really understand the pre-inspection. What is the point of that for you? Just so you can kind of get a sense of like when a buyer's inspector goes through, is there anything they'd call out and you're trying to get ahead of it? Is that what it's for?
So what I use the pre-inspection for, and you guys, there's 2 rules of thumb behind that for flipping houses. Some investors do not want to know about any other information. If they don't know about it, it doesn't need to go in the Form 17. They don't want to know about it. And some people will sell their houses that way. We definitely have clients that do that, and I can respect that. I do the pre-inspection. As a broker, I want it done because what I'm trying to do is, like as offers are coming in or I'm negotiating with people, the cleaner the house is, the faster someone will jump at it. And it also makes, some buyers walk into a flip house and they have all these red flags going off. and it makes them feel better. So it allows us to negotiate a little bit stronger.
Okay. And you
And s-
share it then with like you share it?
yes, we do share it.
Okay.
What I like to, the reason I like to do it as a flipper is I want to make sure that I'm going through with care and making sure that I'm tackling any sort of issue. Especially with me, I do a lot of volume. And so it's important I'm selling really good houses. And no matter what, like if something goes wrong, I want to make sure that I'm armed with all the facts going, no, we took care of this property to the best of our ability. We hired licensed bonded contractor. We pulled this permit or we didn't pull this permit. And then we also had an inspector go through and check my contractor's work along with us.
Okay.
And so it just makes buyers feel better, which can oftentimes lead to a higher offer. So I like doing that. Plus, I feel like my liability is reduced because we've done everything that we've known about and there's nothing hidden.
And when you said Form 17, is that just the disclosure form? I think we
Yeah, I'm
call
sorry.
it?
Yeah, in Washington, we call it Form 17. It's a seller disclosure statement.
Right. Okay. Same thing. And then I guess one other question, I had quite an interesting week where I found a hard money person that I will not be working with, and we could get into that. But are you going to do anything around like how to identify good hard money lenders? Like the one that I think I sniffed out, his background is insane. And I mean, I did a Google search, found out he had an alias. His alias has a lot of like criminal history. And I was like, holy cow, like, thank God I didn't give this guy any of my like real information. I just had a call with him. But do we have any plans to go through like finding a good hard money lender?
Yes, and in Project Flip, in Project Flip, we do it in interviewing your lender section. Have you watched that section on financing?
I have not done that one, so I will. Okay.
Okay, watch that. That's where I there's a lot of in-depth interview questions that we're asking these guys on like, it's also not just about being a good lender. It's about like not having hidden points and fees and all those things.
Perfect. Okay. I will read that. Okay.
Yeah, and then-
That was all my questions. Thank you.
Yeah, and hold on one sec, guys. For some reason, I'm gonna try doing something real quick. My computer has frozen with the screen, so I can't. So I'm gonna try doing something real quick where I'm gonna log on with my phone and then come back. It's like I pulled up Paint just so I could mock up this, and now it's like frozen. So hold on. It's always something. In the meantime, Travis.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, what's going on, bud? How are you?
Good, good. Dark here driving, but so my question is this: it's a couple months ago, I was telling my father-in-law about my ambitions to get into real estate investment, and we ended up he's having me help him with his sixplex condo, and we're going to take 2 or 3 years and get the rents up to market rate and sell it for the best price we can. And so I'm excited for that opportunity, but I want to get my real estate license to get to, be able to do that. And so I'll be taking that test here later this month. I've finished the 90-hour course or whatever. And what do you think I should think about as I think about like, you got to choose like a firm, right, to go with, but I want to be primarily working with investors like long term. But I'm new at that. I don't have any experience. What do you suggest I think about?
Which market are you in?
So I'm in the Seattle area. Like I live in Everett.
Okay. And then so the brokerage, I guess, the first thing we want to think about when we're looking at a brokerage is what are our needs that we need as a broker? First, like the training side, are you looking for like good broker training across the board at first? Or are you looking for, I guess, out of being a broker, what is is it to do most of the business on your own and work with some investors in that training, or because there's kind of two approaches. Like for most investor brokers that I know, they want to hang their license at a low cost shop. So they, you know, their transaction fees are low, their monthly fees are low. They can enhance their profitability that way because investors don't care about all the shiny stuff that a lot of the big shops have. So that's one approach. The other is, though, if you want more actually in-depth, hands-on broker training at first, just for how to run the transaction, how to farm a territory, give you like that basic concepts of it. Honestly, I can say I think Keller Williams is probably one of the best training brokerages for that.
Uh-huh.
And you can be there for a little bit and then leave too.
Yeah. So like
And-
maybe spend a year at a place like that and then move on to something else that's where I could have more a share of the commission basically.
Yeah, because you don't need to use that a lot if you're an investor broker. There's some networking side on that, but like if you want that crash training, I do think the big box, I call them the big box brokerages, they're great for that because that's what their whole business model is set up for. You know, and then there is some boutique shops like, you know, at our office, when people want general background on broker training, I'm like, we're really not the shop for you. But we do investor training where, you know, we do a lot of niche training of like how to look at a property, how to set up the comps, how to run underwriting for a client, how to get them to their financial goals. So that we're like experts at. And so, but typically I'm like, hey, if you want the basics, I would go somewhere else first. Or take a lot of MLS classes because it's just we focus our time and energy on making them more ninja sales guys for investments or women. I mean, have you written down like exactly what you want out of that brokerage? Because don't you have a full-time job too?
Yeah, I've got a full-time job, so it would be a
Okay.
side thing for the first couple years or whatever.
You know, and so if it's a side thing, you know, there's a lot of also continuing education stuff that you can take to develop your general broker stuff. And so low cost could be also a very good thing for you to do. And so what I would do though is map out like what are your goals for being a broker in the first year or two? How many transactions do you actually think you might do with what you're working with?
Mm-hmm.
And who they'll be with? Because also if you're, let's say, just working for your family too, and you know you're getting a listing, you could also go to a lot cheaper brokerage because they're not going to take a big chunk of your commission at first.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then map out what you want to be developed on too, because, you know, if it's doing farming territories and doing open houses and running like a brokerage general business, big box are good. And if not, then we want to look for like a more boutique brokerage that's going to teach you more specialty training.
Perfect.
But then, yeah, and bring that in next week, what your goals are, and then we'll pick one. And I can probably name a couple like pretty quickly, like, hey, this is where I would go.
Okay, you got it.
All right, guys, I'm trying this thing right now. I don't know why my computer is all frozen. So is my video working right now?
No, it's frozen.
Okay, that's probably what's going on. I got an idea. Let me try doing this. Okay. Gosh, that's working now, right? Video's
Yes.
working, mic's working. Okay, let's try doing this. It's weird. There's like this box I cannot get rid of. And so I'm trying to log into my phone so I can take control, shut this one down, then reopen it. Because I can't do her floor plan until this is fixed. Again. Okay, here we go. This should work.
Recording in progress.
Hey, can everyone hear me? Can anyone hear me right now? Oh, perfect. Okay, guys, so just, I'm doing like a hard start on my laptop real fast because I don't know why it is. Here we go. This will work now. I did order a brand new laptop that's getting set up this week because I think this one's toast now. And this. So anyone else have any questions while we pull up this floor plan and I map it out? Nobody has questions. All right, we'll get this floor plan up.
Wait, I do. It's Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Hey, so real quick, so when you get the rehab numbers from brokers, right? That's based on like their some kind of number that they came up with, their contractors or whatnot. But then like how far is that off from like reality though? Like, is that like a good number where I can go to a different contractor and be like, hey, look, this is what I got. Like, these are the numbers that I think this rehab can be done for. Look at this. And then like go from there, or like how close are the rehab costs to reality is basically my question. If I'm basing it off of that.
I think that's a very good question. The first thing I want to ask the broker is where did they come up with this number? For us, we have an estimated budget that breaks it down. So we go, this is how we calculated this number. I would say most brokers, and even in Project Broker, I actually was telling everyone that, hey, don't throw out a number if you don't know what the number is. That's okay. It's really what we want is the scope of work that needs to happen to the property. And then the investor can really come up with that decision, because if the broker hasn't, like, we come up with an equation based on historical, and then we put it into a kind of a bid format. Or some brokers are contractors and they will actually go, hey, no, I have a contractor, or I can do it for this price, or, and then I'll take that more seriously. If they're just throwing a number up, I think it's actually not a good thing, because if they don't know the cost, they don't know the cost. A broker should tell you what needs to happen to the property, and then the investor may have to figure it out. So we want to find out how they came up with that number. And if they're just guessing, then I'm going to take that number very lightly at that point. And I'm going to go, well, this is the scope of work, and I need to start calling my contractor and talking to him and going, hey, if I need to do this to the property, what do you think that's going to cost?
Okay.
Or I'll double check it with like a price per square foot model, because brokers, they don't have to.
Oh, you're on mute.
There we go. Now I'm back on a real computer. All right.
There we go.
Weird. And so, they don't need to know the numbers. Like wholesalers do this all the time. They throw like, 100 grand in. I'm like, how do you know that? And it's, and sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they're low. Sometimes they're high. Most of the times they're low. And so those are the questions we want to ask. How did you come up with that number? If they have no valid reason, then I just need to throw that number out, and I still need to continue my underwriting the way I need to do it. Unless they have a logical explanation for that. I don't know why people throw at numbers if they don't know them. It's almost like hurts their deal a little bit. Because There's plenty
Like
of
you
stuff.
kind of
we
lose
send out.
trust.
Say again?
Oh, I said it. Yeah, it kind of makes you lose trust in like how good of a deal they ever bring you, right? Like you just wouldn't trust them anymore, I guess.
Well, yeah, because you don't need to guess, right? When you're selling a deal, if you don't know, you don't know. And they're trying to get people excited about it, but it's, even if they have some sort of logic, oh, I just ran it at $75 a foot because that's what people say they can get their stuff done for. Okay, that's fair, right? There's the number. But if there's no sort of logic behind it,
Okay.
I won't even look at it at that point. I'll look at the purchase price and the comps, and then I'll kind of figure it out with my own underwriting calc at that point. And so just always, where do they come up with that number is the most important thing.
Okay.
Um,
Thanks.
yeah, it's definitely, it's kind of like when we sell new construction, we go off of, well, we kind of know because we have our costs, but it's, before we were building a lot of stuff and I was selling dirt, I would just run it at $300 a foot because that's what most builders said they could build for. And, some builders were at $250, some were at $350. I was just going with the averages. But when I was talking to a client, that's how I would run my numbers. And then they would usually go, well, hey, I'm at 350. So when you send me a deal, it's got to be at 350. And then I would know to plug it in. But yeah, if they don't have any, it's just an irrelevant number if they don't have a logic behind it. So, all right, here's the floor plan finally. All right, this is what we're going to do right now. So on this plan, you guys, there's definitely, I think that the plan has a good space. We're dealing with a 1,200 square foot box. So there's 600 on the main floor, 600 up. And so architects, they got to be pretty tight all the way through.
Oh, actually, James, it's 700 on the first floor and the remaining is on the second floor.
Oh, okay. So you're doing, 700 on the main. And then you got another 500 up top roughly, or 400?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you got a good little plan here for space. Okay, one sec, guys. My camera just go out again? This computer's, I think, on the end of its life, guys. So we might run. There we go. Okay, so let's look at. All right, so as they come in the front door, they have the upstairs. That's good. Then they have a nice big living room. And then the thing I'm seeing is we don't really have a dining area in this house.
That's correct.
And then in the dining space, ideally, if we don't have a dining space, we want to have a bigger island so they can at least eat on that island. But we kind of have we have a 6-foot island, but then it kind of backs up into a bathroom and a washer dryer. And so one question I have is, this goes out to an undercover patio, and then the flow of the house now, you got your kitchen area, your living area, but then your living area has what? Is this a slider in the front?
Yes.
Okay, so the slider comes out to like a little courtyard, I'm guessing.
No. We do have a space in the front, but it's just an empty space.
Okay. And so what I don't like about that is the flow of the house is because you have your undercover patio. And is that kind of like a feature patio, or is it kind of just like a small portico?
As of now, we haven't decided that. Like it's probably just the concrete patio with no cover.
Okay. So people kind of have to go through your kitchen, through their mudroom to get out to this undercover patio or patio.
Okay.
And so we want to think about like the livability of the house. And so, I like that it has this butler pantry, but I think it's almost eating up space, and we can use this space to kind of reconfigure and gain some other key spaces like a dining room. So What I would do with this floor plan personally, I would have the architect kind of work on this a little bit, is I would like to see and again, I'm kind of doing this on the fly, so we might have to play with this a couple times. But I see this as good real estate space here because it flows out to a yard, and a yard's a big deal for people to get access to. And what I think we could do instead is here we got a shower and a washer dryer, right? If I went and I turned this into, hold on a sec. Sorry, I'm looking at spaces. Because I want to get this. What is the space on this? Sorry, we got 2, 4, 8. So we got 10, 6 in this area right here. It's 10'6". We got a bedroom that's normal sized. And in your primary bedrooms, your master bedroom's on the top floor, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are 2 bedrooms on the top floor.
Got 10 feet. And then we have 10 foot this way. And so you guys, when I'm doing this, I'm kind of looking at, all right, let's start looking at how we can flow outside. So like kitchen comes, or living comes through here. We could have our kitchen more central. We could make a dining space or move our kitchen down to where we're flowing outside, right? So people aren't going through hallways. And then we can make our kitchen a lot bigger and get rid of that butler pantry. But what we need to pick up right now is we need to pick up a closet for this bedroom. We need to still have a full bath or 3/4 bath on the main floor to service this bedroom. And then we still need space for a washer dryer, which was a stack set. So this is where we're going to start. All right. Now I have not, this is totally on the fly, guys. So I might be redoing this or not. So we're going to wipe this whole thing open. Your pretty plans are getting ripped apart right now. But we're just going to play with the space and then you can mock it up with your architect a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to take this all out. There you go. And you guys, just so you know, this is not complex software I'm using. I copied and pasted it and dropped it right into Paint. And this allows you to do this. Nothing too fancy. Okay, so we got our bedroom here. We know we need this here. Then what I'm seeing is we kind of have this, is we got 10 feet. Six, 9. Sorry, I'm struggling to read some of these plans. 6 and 6, that's 12 feet. Yeah, so we're at 12 feet. So this does put us at 10. We need to pick up a bathroom and a bedroom in these spaces. Our door swing, we got to be careful of where the access is to this bedroom. So we want to keep this open. and we have all this space coming through, right? So we can make our dining. I kind of like. Okay, this is where yours was stopping right here, so we get the space. Yeah, so because we are 10 feet to here, so 2, 2, 3 feet. That puts you at 7. That gives you 3 here, a little tight. This here is 10 feet, so this is too big. You guys are watching me live, like literally what I do when I'm messing with a plan, right? I just start playing with spaces. So I do feel like this needs to go here. And this should be more flow out to your outside. That's better livability. And I don't know if the butler pantry is really going to service you much in this house rather than just getting a bigger entertaining kitchen. You know what, though? This could actually still work this way. So I'm just trying to read your measurements too. This goes this way. Mm. Hey, hey, Edgar, are you still on the call? Or Victor, are you still on the call? Okay, no. All right.
Yes. What's
So
up?
you don't have that floor plan that you had earlier, do you?
I do. The one for the BADU that I'm working on.
Just that layout that you had?
Yes. Yes,
Do
I
you
can.
mind,
You want to
do you
drop
mind
it in
if
the
I
chat?
pull that? Do you mind if I pull that up?
Not at all. Let me find that real quick and drop it in the chat.
Okay. Hold on a sec. Let's put them side by side. Because we have the space. I just feel like the livability factor I want to improve a little bit. And you can't always go back to your architect and say, hey, I want more livability. I want flow to the outside, and they'll kind of mock it up. But I do like to kind of mock it up myself and then give it to them. So let's do this. Edgar will put one up. We were actually looking at 2 today. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do here. I don't know if that's gonna help us all that much right now. Okay, you know what? Let me go back to her plan. Thanks for doing that, Victor. I was talking to Edgar earlier, and we had a different plan. All right, let's go back to this. One thing I definitely typically would do is I'd want to look at the comp floor plans a little bit as I start adjusting stuff over. But what I don't like is like the flow of the house. Like you come in your front door and then the slider kind of goes out, but you're not going out to your yard because your yard's on your back side of your house, right? Where the patio is.
Yes, the front slider is just a window, not the door.
Okay, so yeah, so the only flow to your outside goes through this butler pantry, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then this butler pantry is roughly 10 feet long, right? So I wonder. That's right. So if we opened this up.
So I had a question.
Yep.
The living room has a high ceiling. Can you reclaim that space and move that bedroom upstairs? Or is there a reason for that to be open? Is that what
Uh,
she said earlier, that it was open?
no, it's not a vaulted entrance, right?
Oh, okay.
Um,
James, it is a vaulted entrance.
oh, is it okay? Well, there's gonna be a maxable square footage on this property too.
The max is 1200, yeah.
Yeah, 1,200. I mean, I do like that. I mean, I definitely like that it's open like that. I just feel like it's a cool, entertaining space, but then you come in, it's tall, and you can't get back to the backside of it. And we have the room down here, 700 square feet. So I'm just trying to figure out what the best way to get this to flow is. So like almost like to give you a couple ideas because then you can have the architect kind of mock them up. But part of what I was thinking was, because a lot of this is going to be a younger buyer buying this house. Like, and I always want to think about that. Who's buying this house? And so it's Kirkland. It's a more affordable price point for it. It's probably going to be more of like a younger tech buyer.
Yeah.
And so,
So far our plan is to keep it for 2 years and then tax gains, and then probably we'll decide on selling.
oh, okay, you're moving into this.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, part of it is you're moving into it. I want to make sure that you want to live in it the way that you want to live in it. So I'm kind of coming up with a plan where I'm thinking like younger tech buyers going to buy this.
Yeah, I mean, so far our end goal is to sell the house, so we are okay adjusting for 2 years.
Okay. So like what I kind of would like to see here, because and I'd have to look a little bit more too, like what's the backyard like the patio, because to get the best pricing, like people want to enjoy their house, they want to use their patio, they want to flow out. And so like I would take this and turn this into a slider here. So you have a little bit more glass in this section.
Okay.
And then, a dining space doesn't need to be big. And so if you went, slider here, you can extend your kitchen down this way. And then we have 4 feet, which is kind of where we want to be. Because we don't want to make it too claustrophobic. I mean, you have a 6-foot island. But then we have to worry about this corner here. Because in a perfect world, what I'd like to do is make it more of a pass-through, bigger kind of entertaining kitchen with an island that goes to a little dining room and then transitions outside. But we have this kind of tight corner on this bedroom. How wide is this bedroom? 5, 5, and can you read me those? They're blurry for some reason. Is this bedroom 14 feet wide? Am I reading that right? 5, 6, 5. Hold on, let me pull up the unphoto. Do you know what the dimensions of this bedroom is? I'm having a hard time reading this. Is it, wait, 5'4" plus, so it's 11'2", 11'2".
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
got it.
11.2 by 10.4.
Okay, 11'2" by 10'4". Okay. Yeah. Let's go back.
James, I found a comp in Kirkland um, that has a bedroom downstairs,
Oh, did you? Look at you.
and
All over
it
it.
requires moving the stairs. That's essentially the problem. Um,
Do you have
I'm
that
gonna,
on the
yeah,
chat?
I can throw that on the chat here. And if you can share your screen if you want.
Okay.
But
Yeah, let's do that
they
if
have
you
a
can.
they have a 3D view of it, and you can see the floor plan.
Oh, perfect. Let's do that because I want to look at that. It might be stair placement too. And it's not that I don't like this plan. I'm just, Sana, I don't think the plan's bad. I just think, for those minimal changes that we talked about, that's what I would do is like swap your your plans around. But if you're new, you can sometimes perfect it.
Okay,
And so I'm just, if you're going to go through the trouble, it's good to go through these motions.
definitely.
And you
Yeah.
might even come back to that same plan at the end. And there's nothing wrong with that plan, but okay, so here's good comp, good price point. And you said 3D walkthrough. Let's go through that. There you go. Oh, there's their access to their side. Okay, so they have, okay, so, oh yeah, they split their stairs up this way. And then you see like how this house flows though. This is kind of the concern with the plan that I see is everything's going through a butler pantry to out. Whereas this has like your main space here, your living room, and then your dining room, and then you have access to your outside right there. And so, yeah, I think what's kind of happening is that bedroom is pinching. Okay, so this is you come in, bedroom, which I don't absolutely love either, to be honest, but okay. Let's do this. You got a 6-foot island, which is good. You can't mess with this bedroom size much. Let's go back. Because what I was gonna do is kind of bring it down into this section, but then it's kind of throwing your island way away from these things. And then we can't move our island down too much because the corner of this bedroom here. And so,
James, we're not seeing your paint screen anymore. Yeah.
I guess that will matter, won't it? Okay. Yeah, so originally I was thinking I wanted to bring it down because you have almost too much room in this space here. But then the issue is the island, we can't bring it down too far because the corner of the bedroom's gonna kind of mess up the flow. So I was trying to see if we could somehow suck this out, move the closet into this section. But we still need the full bath on the main. And we have a lack of cabinets right now. Because this kitchen run is roughly 6 feet, 8 feet. So yeah, it's. uh, 11 feet. Closet. Measurements are 9 by 6. Section here. This here, door could swing in. Okay, now I got another idea. Hold on. Why don't we try this? You just gonna see my brain working all at once. Okay, so what I'm trying to do again is get that space settled out. But then again, this is kind of impeding over, so we can't get our island that much more. But now I think we have some, shoot, it's just corner bedrooms really clipping this island down. Okay, you know what? Because of that bedroom on the main floor, it's kind of limiting how we can create the flow of this house.
Okay.
And that's okay. But I'm trying to make sure I get why the architect did this, lower kitchen cabinets, so he added cabinets in this section to offset. But now I
It's
feel like we're
kind of,
missing, of
so we had
course.
like start brushing the brain to come up with this plan.
Say again?
It's me and my husband like brushing up with the plan. Like we spent like 6 hours to come up with this plan.
No, and I don't think this is like it's not like it's not a bad plan. The livability is a little limited, right? Because like if this
Okay.
was a dadu that doesn't have a yard, I think it's kind of fine because there's not much to use there. But
It
the
has
yard,
like 20 feet of backyard.
20 feet,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good yard for a dadu. So and that will sell a lot better when you have good access to a yard. And
Okay.
so what I'm trying to do is figure out, okay, well, how do we open this up, bring this kitchen down? I mean, we could run, I mean, kind of a simple solution for it. Let me play. So this can come through. Yeah, because what Victor was talking about is the stairs came more down here, which kind of divided the spaces up a little bit more. Because you got a big bonus area. You flow in. We got our kitchen. Feet. We got 4, 2, 6, 8. You can also bring this island not so far because you got a 4-foot island here, so it's 2 feet with a 2-foot overhang.
Yeah.
So we can trim that back a little bit to where you're not, because what I'm trying to do, because if we can do that, and you can almost also go with no overhang and a longer island, and that's okay. Like you could waterfall the edges and just bring like a 12-inch or like a 6-inch overhang to give you the extra space. But again, I don't think the plan's bad. I just would explore a couple little things right here.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Whatever is the best outcome, right?
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go back to this here, because again, I do like the flow of the house to go out. And then we're missing that dining space, which is a big objection for buyers. And you go with more of like a longer linear island, you'll have this space here. You're gonna have a very entertaining space. Because your kitchen's a little short, but then we can pick up the extra cabinet boxes. So if sink, dishwasher, yeah, range. This is where we would want to put our range in the island here. And sorry, when I was first saying cost wise, I was thinking it was a reno. And so it's not going to cost much more based on because you're building new.
Okay.
But if you did, your fridge here, and again, I think have it mocked up, we can look at it, but like livability wise, like you put your fridge here, you move your range down a little bit to where you have a filler gap in here. Your island can now stretch really long too. So you're gonna have plenty of cabinets underneath there. Okay.
But quick question, James, like would that not limit the usage of island if we have the dishwasher and the sink in the island?
You could also do that over there too. The only thing is usually people like to look outside their sink or outside
Okay.
on the window.
Okay.
Because sinks typically will look outside on the window, and then also it's not, you could definitely do sink, dishwasher, and then you put your range here, fridge here, so you kind of have your triangle going on. And then your sink, and then you can have your island kind of pull more down. So it's like your sink and dishwasher would be more in this corner of the island. Because then you don't have to lose this window. You want to make sure we have the window light coming through. This would give us a dining space here that's 10 feet tall. And then what I would do here is I almost put my, should can do this. It's just acting up right now. So if we put our washer dryer here in like a little closet. I don't love that either. Because we've lost our closet, so now we need to add a closet in this section, right? And so now I'm going, okay, well, how can I move? Got 6 feet, 9 feet wide this way. Okay, big kitchen. Dining in this space. Washer dryer room, so this goes away.
Jim, does it help if I post the this upper floor layout as well?
Not really, because for the main floor, because what we're trying to work around right now is the bedroom on the main.
Okay.
And so I think what's happening is like kind of to Victor's point, like if we brought the stairs down in a different section, it would kind of divide the space naturally in there. But in granted, not a lot of DADUs have this vault in the front. And they're usually maximizing the square footage. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think people will like it. I'm just trying to maximize this space. Oh, is this a closet right here? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that full height in there underneath that stairs?
So initially it was a like water heater closet, but now we moved the like water heater to pantry and then we made that a coat closet.
Okay. Island through there, kitchen coming this way. We got this bedroom swinging in. Swings in. We got this space here. Actually, I'm just trying to figure out if we have the space here. 10 feet, 2, 2, 3, and 3. That's too tight. Yeah, I think the bedrooms, honestly, with that bedroom on the main floor, because what I'm running into is I'm running into like a foot off in certain sections where I'm just like a little tight because, you know, what I like to see on the main floor is just to get open through to where they can flow out. But also, we do need to work around that third bedroom is important for this house because it is for the value. And the issue that we're having is because this bedroom's here, it's pinching the corners here to where I can't move things very much because, we have 10 feet here, 2 plus overhang. That puts us at 4.5. Then we're at 3, that's 7.5. And then we're just too tight to wander around. So I think, and this is part of what we have to do, some guys on plans, is I got to play around with the space and go, okay, this isn't working. And so, I mean, for keeping this third bedroom, actually, this is not a bad plan. The only thing I don't like is how can we get access to this outside?
So is it going to decrease the value if we have access through the bedroom to outside? And make
Yeah,
it
that wouldn't
bigger
be good. I don't think that's a bad thing. You could put that to a slider just to have it.
Okay.
But yeah, it'd be better for them to go through the pantry at that point. And I guess your dining space, you could get a little dining table here. Because it is a more affordable product. So that's things we have to think about too, because some daddies go up to 1.3, 1.4 there. And just this bedroom's pinching us in ways that we can't really work around. I was trying to squeeze some things around, but it's just not going to work. You know what? I think with that bedroom where it is, you kind of leave with this plan. The only thing I would do is just watch when you're building, you might be able to bring your island down like another 12 inches and this down 12 inches, and this will still feel really good with those tall vaulted ceilings.
Okay.
And then I would get this bigger, get this a little bigger. And again, this is not that this is a bad plan for what you're selling at all. We're very limited because of this one little corner right here for flow coming through.
Okay.
And that's okay. We just got to create the plan around it. Through here, tankless water heater. I would put the tankless water heater somewhere else though, just in case when you start building, because the thing is when you build, as it starts feeling, you might you know what? I'm going to actually just leave this more open to the outside, because when you put the tankless water heater here, you're now limiting yourself.
Okay.
Because it is good to see this all the way through. And, you know, one of the answers could be you might just add some cabinets here, put a pantry cabinet here, and then dining space with flow out. And then you get this more wide open.
So you're suggesting not having the wall at all and making it an open kitchen?
I think that's more livable. And then also when people come in, right, they're going to come in their front door. You're going to see nice, big, tall living room, nice kitchen, and then you're going to hit this wall of darkness behind here. And so it's going to make it feel a little smaller. So I like it to be more open aired so you can kind of see all the way through. And then it gives the buyer some flexibility on the space too, on whether they want like a formal, a formal dining or, yeah, I would say. And so I would definitely get the water tank out so you can at least make some adjustment on site later.
Got it. So the only place where they can keep the tankless water heater would be under the stairs then?
Yeah, I would probably put that there, and then I just think that anchors you to where you can't do much with it later. Your bathroom this way. Yeah, I think you're kind of using the space right. I would just like to see this more flexible so it's more open aired through. It's going to feel bigger and brighter in there for sure. And it just gives that buyer flexibility in what they could do with it later.
Okay. And also, do you suggest even having the fireplace at all in the first place?
Yeah, for new construction, I put that in.
Okay.
You know, I maybe add, if it was me, I'd probably add like a 2x2 window here and a 2x2 window here if you can, for sure.
Okay.
It'll make it feel really bright and nice in there.
Okay. So the only reason initially we had windows, but we removed it because it's just like 5 feet from the fence and there's a house right next to it. So we thought like it would actually make it feel smaller.
You know, I think it will make it, but then you could also like plant some like nice kind of screening plants in front of the window so it allows this greenness in.
Okay.
I would put the windows in.
Okay, got it. And usually what should be what is the good size for the patio, like the backside patio? So we have like 20 by 30 feet backyard.
Okay, I would almost do like a 10 by 10 patio right off this section here.
Okay. So is that like in case if I want to do like pergola in the future, is that even a good size? Is that 10 by 10 is a good size?
Well then, because it still allows you to have like some 10 by some grass back there too.
As of now, we have trees, but like we'll chop the trees and like plant the grass.
Yeah, I like having a patio and grass for flexibility for a buyer later, and a 10 by 10 patio is fairly good sized.
Okay, got it. And as of we are going with the concrete now, but like, do you suggest going with concrete or pavers or deck? Like
it will be more it'll be more cost effective for you to do concrete because you're going to be pouring a slab there anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I would go with concrete. I like pavers better personally, but I would go concrete if I was doing this because you're going to save 50% on that patio.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, James.
No, and I do think it's a good plan. I just would like to see better flow out to that side if you can.
So what I'm getting out of this is like remove the wall completely in between the pantry and the kitchen and make it like an open space, but still have the cabinets.
Yeah, you could have the cabinets, or you could add a little bit more cabinets in here and then do a little, just a little table here if you can kind of work that into the plan a little bit.
Okay.
It just, yeah, I mean, but I would definitely get rid of the wall just to open it up.
Okay, sure.
It'll feel like brighter in there.
Okay.
And then honestly, where you take your tankless water, I put like another window somewhere in this section. Like, I would put a window like right where this box is. just because you can do just lowers on one side. It just keeping natural light in will be a big deal on those. Cool. Yeah, and then if you mock it up, throw it back in Facebook. I'll look at it again too. So, cool.
Okay.
Byron,
Sound. Yeah.
What's up, James?
what's up, man? How are you?
Good. Sorry, I'm at my son's soccer practice.
Oh,
How did your
good. I was trying to
Newports?
let you in earlier, but my computer was frozen, so then I shut it down and we flopped around.
Oh, it's all good. I've been swapping between Mac and phone. How did your Newport offer go?
I'm still waiting, dude. If you can believe
All
that.
right.
It's unreal. It's the weirdest thing. I was just telling someone about this. It's like these, like, honestly, at this point, I kind of feel like I should drop my price to them now.
And good luck.
Yeah, I'm like getting there though. If they don't respond soon, I'm like, how long can you sit on a full price offer?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I guess multiple bids.
I mean, it's been on now for 20 days. So
Okay.
yeah,
I get you.
it's not looking that strong. And I mean, I already gave these people a higher offer earlier and they didn't take it. It's like, well, I might as well just start walking you backwards then.
Maybe you send some autographed books their way.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
So my question is, just listening to you go through all of that, is when do you finalize the floor plans, right? Like, do you do like a rough sketch as you're walking and then using that to give to the contractor for a bid, and then finalize it once you're under contract? Or can you just describe what the process would be for floor plans?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely a good question. Yeah, so what we do as we're walking the contractor, we're going to say, hey, we want the bedrooms, and we'll kind of mark it up just like on even a piece of paper sometimes, like, hey, bedroom, bathroom are going to go in this section. We're going to finalize that plan roughly. And we'll just kind of like mock it up. Oh, did we just lose them? Oh no. Okay.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, and so we go, hey, we need a bedroom and a bathroom in this area. We'll give you the finalized plan because we want the contractor to bid in kind of those locations, but not the final details. And so we have an as-built done, or we'll even pull out the tax records and kind of draw on it, say bedroom going here, bathroom going here. And then as we get the plans, we're working with an architect, like laying it out before we submit to permit. And so typically on closing, we'll have our as-built. We start mocking them up, send them to our architect, and we'll go back and forth on it. But then when we're walking with the contractor, we're saying, hey, we want, like with that plan there, we want a bedroom here, bathroom in this somewhat location, kitchen's going here, dining over here. And so they can at least bid pretty accurately.
Okay, got it. And
then
then
we kind of finalize. I mean, and you guys, some plans are hard. Like I can usually knock them out pretty fast, but I had to redo a set of plans like 5 times on a house. I kept going back. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So we kept moving it.
I mean, this is a varied question, but what's kind of like the timeline you're trying to hit that you have plans finalized?
Typically I want to have plans finalized like ASAP. But we're trying to usually finalize plans in the first 7 days or so because we also need to submit for permits. So we just got to get it submitted. Even if the plans are like a little bit off, I'll submit anyways, and then we'll do an on-site revision. Because permits in Seattle take a long time. Orange County can be the same way. And so we want to just kind of get the ball moving forward. And that's the thing. We don't want to get trapped on that too long because all of a sudden, 5 days can turn into 3 weeks real fast.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. Thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure. Omar.
Hey, Jay, just a quick question. In regards to California, is Newport Beach your only market, or are you open to like Costa Mesa, Huntington, Laguna, all that?
I like all those markets. They have pretty big swings. I feel most comfortable in Newport area because I really know the data and the housing.
Okay.
And then the contractor builder that my broker kind of got me tied up with, it's kind of his specialty too, is to be in those zones.
Sure.
And so because of the price point, I like to stay where that is. I mean, I would actually go over to a location called Bay Shores on the other side because he really likes that spot.
Right. I'm
But
familiar with that.
you know, I kind of want to stay with where the general and the builder is because he is a certain amount of cost, and so I want to make sure it's in there. Like I couldn't use him on like a Costa Mesa house, I don't think.
Okay. All right. Just wondering if I get a deal or something, if I should hit you up about it. So.
Oh no, but actually Byron, who was just on, he's right in that zone.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah, he wants to be a little bit more affordable, not super high end, but like, you know, Costa Mesa is great for that stuff for sure.
Yeah, Costa Mesa. Okay.
And I like that whole area. I really do, like right there off 17th, Costa Mesa right there. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's probably almost better to flip a little bit lower risk there.
Right.
And they sell well because it's a more affordable price point in that area. And so I definitely like it. It's just
they trade pretty good over there.
yeah, and then actually Wendy and Weston in our group do a lot of deals in those areas.
Oh, say it again.
Wendy and Weston. Have you connected with them at all?
No, I didn't. I'll have to connect with them. Wendy and Weston. Okay.
Yeah, they definitely like big post. Yeah, they're great. I mean, they do everything from actually Byron went and got coffee with Weston. Weston's a great dude. Wendy's awesome. She spoke on our calls before. And they're building in CDM, but then they also do they do Costa Mesa flips, they do Dover Shore. So they're in a little bit more price points because they're self-building everything themselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You like CDM too?
You know what? I like the market. I just don't know it as well. And when you're dealing with those price points, I like to be pretty confident because if you're off by a little bit, it's a big deal.
For sure. That's a pretty unique a little market right there.
Yeah, they're building a really badass house there. It's I definitely want to fly in and go look at it as they're going.
This is Wendy and Weston. They're building in CDM.
Yep. Yeah, they're building a very badass house. They use branded architects to design it. I mean, Byron, if you get a chance, go look at that thing.
Yeah, I toured his I guess it's west side Costa Mesa one, but he's got about 4 or 5 going right now.
Yeah, they move. They're very, very active.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah,
and Omar would love to connect.
Yeah, definitely, Byron. We'll definitely connect. I appreciate it. Thanks, James.
Yeah, because Omar, Brian, just Omar does a lot of probate stuff too. So yeah, definitely.
Great.
Yeah, I'm in Inland Empire. I was running around taking care of listings today myself.
Yeah, and if you find something, Omar, definitely reach out to Brian, Wendy. But you can also, I definitely know people looking in that zone too. So
yeah.
Just I can send you some names for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, we went long. Floor plan took a little while just for us to kind of wind up where we were, but that's what happens sometimes. You just got to go in circles and go, okay, this is working. So, all right. Well, I'm going to let you guys go and I will see you guys next week.
Hey, James, I
Yep.
have one final question. Do you have any recommendations on civil engineering for the drainage and water plan?
Oh, typically we use whoever architect is,
Okay.
our architects kind of have a couple, like they usually have 3 or 4 civils they like working with. And so we just go with whoever they're preferred with.
Got it. Okay. So we kind of got a quote from them and they're charging around 6K. Is that normal?
That's about normal for a new construction site in there. That might be a little high, but it also depends on like some kind of factors on the site, but that's not totally out of line. Who was the company?
Oh, I'm not quite sure. Let me see.
I would say that's not totally out of line.
Got it. Okay. So it's effective engineering. The civil company is the effective engineering.
I don't know if I've heard of them. Yeah, because Kirkland, a lot of the stuff we do is in Seattle, so they kind of stick with that. I'm trying to remember who did the civil in Kirkland. It was Medici, yeah, because I personally, I like using whoever my architect likes using.
Okay.
Because they kind of roll through, they've already priced them well, and it just kind of works for their scheduling.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Thank you, James.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I will see you guys next week.
Sandra had a question on the chat.
Oh, this one? So, question. All right. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm in possession of a duplex, ready to break ground, land, necessary permits, blueprints, construction costs amounting to approximately 260,000. I'm contemplating retaining ownership and renting it out. The decision is whether to sell or rent. The potential sale price is around 325. It's been estimated. Do we require funds from the sale? Okay, so Sandra, one thing I'm seeing is if you build it for 260 and you sell it for 325, because you're gonna have construction cost in there too for your lending. And so when you finance that build, you're gonna be roughly probably paying around 10 points on that loan with the interest and all the points in the duration of the construction. So that adds in like another 26,000. So you're at 286. And if you sell it for 325, I don't know if you're really making any money on it. Because when you sell, you're gonna use brokers and closing costs, correct? Oops, Sandra, are you there? Okay, I got your text. And so Sandra, I don't know if you're gonna actually make any money doing that. Because at 325, if you sell with a broker, and then what's your closing cost in your area? Is it like around 2 to 3%, I would guess, with transfer tax and escrow and title? So if you sell that for 0.91, you're at 295. And then if you build it for 260, and then you have roughly another $20,000 in lending costs on that, you're only going to be making 15,750. And that's kind of best case scenario at that point. And so it's a little tight to do that deal. Depending on whether you can get a construction loan for the full amount, but if you have to even put in 15% of the 260 to build, and if you are putting down 15% down on that, that's 39,000. It's like a 30% return, but it's a little slim. And so what will your cash flow if you build that out? Because your mortgage payment on that's going to be roughly you're at 260.
So at this point, it's just better building and retaining to rent for rent.
Yes, I'm kind of running your mortgage payment on that right now. So your payment on that before taxes and insurance at a 6.5% rate is going to be $1,650 before your taxes and insurance. So how much will that rent out for that duplex?
The 1,100 for the 2 and 1,400 for the 3, because it's the 2-3.
Okay, so you're going to bring in 2,400 a month in rent?
Yes, a little, 20, 25 or more.
Okay, so 25 a month. So after property taxes, everything, I mean, so you're going to make like $500 a month after everything, it sounds like.
Probably, I'll break it even.
Depending
so
on
the comp I have is from last year. I just see a duplex, they just put in for for sale, and it's a 3-3, and they put him they actually sent under contract for 475, and it's up in the same area. 10 minutes away from downtown New Orleans.
Oh, so you said it sold for 475 or
No, the one they put in for sale is under contract is for 475, and it's my is gonna be a 3-2, so maybe 400 square foot under, smaller. So
okay, so it could be worth more than 325.
yeah, I'm very because the market is kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and honestly, but if rates come down as you build, it could go up in value too, and that could happen.
Yeah.
And so what I do think is if I'm looking at this as an investment,
Mhm.
you're making roughly your mortgage on this is going to be around 2,000 with property taxes and insurance. And that's a loan
Yes.
balance of 260. So you're going to make at least $500 a month on that house.
Mhm.
So then you're making $6,000 a year, which honestly, that's pretty good for cash flow on that. One thing you'd want to do is talk to a lender and see how much money they want you to leave in it.
Mhm.
Because then I can really give you the right answer on that. Like how much of a
What
loan,
is
how much cash will you have to leave in that?
okay? That's when I how do you say, when you finish and get the loan, because right now it's a construction loan.
Okay, yeah, so it'll be a construction loan, but then you want to find out from a bank how much will they give you a permanent loan for to keep it to rent it out.
Oh, to keep it to renter. Okay, all right.
Yeah, because if they, if you're making $6,000 a month, but you don't have to leave much in it, that's actually a pretty good thing to build. But if you have to leave, even if you have to leave 50,000 in,
Mhm.
it's still not a bad return. It's 8.5%. But I know you want that cash too to keep investing. And so, what we want to do before we make this decision is go talk to a bank and go, hey, look, I have this duplex. I'm building it for this.
Mhm.
I'm going to be into it for 260.
Mhm.
Here's what it's worth. This is what it's going to rent out for. How much of a loan can I get on it? Because that will really help us decide whether to build it and keep it or sell it. Because honestly, if you can leave very little money in
Mhm.
and you can cash flow $500 a month, and there is some sales above 400, this could be something that's good to keep for a year. And once rates come down, it could sell for 400.
Okay.
And one
All
thing
right.
I would want to think about too is what was they selling for before interest rates went up?
Those apartment for those square footage, they selling at about 325. So I'm very conservative in the number, but I think it
Okay.
can go a little more.
Yeah, because if it's selling for 325,
Mhm.
you have to build it for 260. There's not a lot of profit there for all the work you
No.
got to do. And
Yes.
so if it was only to sell it, I'd probably wait.
Okay.
Now,
No, yeah.
if a bank can give you a loan for almost that full 260, I'd actually build it, start doing the cash flow, and then as rates come down, you'll probably sell it for 350 to 375, and then you will make money.
Okay. Well, right now, I buy the lot and pay for the blueprint, permits, and surveys or benchmark, however you call it. So I have a pretty good money invested already there.
Okay, yeah, so you want to get that money back out.
Yeah.
Okay, so one other thing, Sandra, you could do
Mhm.
is I want you to pull so if you go to the city of New Orleans
Mhm.
and you talk to them and go, hey, what you can usually get permits pulled. So we want to find out who's building duplexes right now there.
Mhm.
Because you
Okay.
could
Yeah.
go to them and just try to sell them your land with plans and permits and probably get your cash back out and make a profit on it.
All right.
Because
That's another.
builders, if they will, because there could be a builder that could build that cheaper than 260 down there too.
Yeah. Well, that's the number they are putting, but I really, because we do a lot of the construction. We
got
have a crew and we have a framings in all the people. So that's the number I throw to the bank. But really, because we do a lot of the work and we building for, but no, that's really the whole money with the lot, with the permit, with the blueprint. But just to build the building, I think is gonna be around 200, 220, because we're not doing nothing fancy. You know, this is you know.
Yeah, building to rent it.
Yeah.
You know, I would just, I mean, it might be worth looking just, you know, because sometimes when I get a permit on land, I always look at what I can sell it for, because sometimes someone will pay. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make half the amount of profit, but I can sell it today and I don't have to build it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so,
sounds pretty good.
yeah, find out because the city will have who's building those right now with open permits.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can take that list and see what they paid for the land
All right.
with a permit, and then we can see what that's worth. Because, you know, maybe someone will pay, you know, I don't know exactly, but maybe they'll pay 65, 70 grand for this, or maybe a little more, and you can make some quick money and move on. But
Okay.
in the meantime, I would still talk to a bank about getting a loan, though, because I do think that this could have some upside if rates come down. And it's like, if you start building it, the worst case scenario is you keep it and collect $500 a month.
Mhm.
Best case scenario is you sell it for 350 or more and you're making 50 to 75 grand.
Mm. Yeah, that's not a lot.
No, because it's just, yeah, for you to make money on it, it would have to sell for 400 and change.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So I keep in posting. Thank you for your advice.
No, for sure. And then follow back up with, I want to know how much your loan balance you can get for is.
All right. I will. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Have a good night.
Thanks, Sandra. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.